Because you got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been.
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your nodal mind.
Move him out of here, there.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live last Saturday night. Out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to episode 519 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. Another upset happened this week. Not much happened this week, but we saw the juggernaut come crashing down with a busted eye, much resembling his former victim, Daniel Dubois, as Zhang, or Zhang Zhilei, Double Z, just kept popping him with that left hand, and Joyce kept coming forward, probably was picking off the rounds, but the doctor deemed him unfit to continue in the sixth, dashing the hopes of many of us. And with us today, Steve Wellings, Andy Patterson. Steve, Joyce's chin was tested. It kind of got buzzed in the second, but I kind of feel like an ass at this point in time because this whole time we're sitting there like, oh, he's got this great chin and great engine, comes forward. It's like, oh, yeah, you can fucking like swell up people's eyes and shit like that. Oops, stupid me. And Bradley, God love him on the call. He thought it could very well happen because Joe doesn't get his head off the line. Stupid fucking us, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Iron chin, glass eye, really. You know, if you can't get into the chin and buzz him that way, get into the eye. But I don't know. I feel a bit sad, actually, to be honest with you, Matty. I've grown kind of fond of Joyce over the time. He's simpleton persona. He's turned out to be a bit of a good guy, really. Early on, we saw him motoring through people, taking repeated right hands against people like Stavern and other lesser operators. And he didn't mess about against lower guys as well. He got rid of them too. And he's gone up the levels, as Ozzy would say. And we wondered how long he could go on with his face-first strategy. I know, friend of the pod, Des, he's a good technical analyst, and he was concerned for a long time about Joyce's ability to soak up the pressure, and they kind of all bought into it, maybe himself included. You know, Dev and BT and that, all the memes are about this immovable object and that, and nobody's going to get rid of him. And to be honest, I thought that he showed a little bit of technical nuance in that Dubois fight that you mentioned. He showed his amateur credentials, he jabbed, he moved, he had a good left stick. And that said to me that when he moved up in levels, he would be able to adapt. He wouldn't just stand there taking shots and motoring forward like this monster, like this machine. But last night, he stepped up in levels, and that's exactly what he did. He just looked like he'd never faced a southpaw before. And he fought Usyk in the WSB, which was only over 5 rounds, granted, but he would have fought lefties as well before in the amateurs. But he just looked like he was just taking shots, especially with the left hand. And before in the dressing room, actually, you know, the way you pick up on little things. I saw Double Z, as you were calling him, with his trainer, Sean George, who you might remember beat Chris Bird, an emaciated version of Chris Bird in his final fight. He was there on the pads, and he looked quite tight and compact, but also very relaxed at the same time. And I just thought if he can get on the inside there and let the shots go, then he might have a chance here. And in the ring, he was blocking a lot on the arms and gloves. I don't know what that judge was seeing, who had Joyce ahead. I don't think he was ahead at all. I think all the hard shots were coming from Zhang, and a lot of Joyce's efforts were huff and puff things, really. Zhang was landing the counter shots. He's a big guy. He can clearly punch a bit. I've always rated him. I know people say, oh, he's one of these big stiff idiots. He's useless. I don't think he is. I think his problem was always...
The renal failure was a real issue. That Jerry Nuthouse, it was one-off, and he was fucked up, and he still was able to go to the distance with a competent and seasoned, and I don't know if seasoned is the right word, but fairly experienced guy in force.
No, I was just going to say that the renal failure. At the end of the day, he's nearly 40. I mean, flip me, I'm over 40 myself. He's not getting any younger. The big fella. He's had a good amateur career, but he would be starting to feel the pace, and he felt the pace late on against Hrgovic as well, which was a disgraceful decision. Everyone, as far as I know, thought that he won the fight. I don't see any case for Hrgovic winning that fight, apart from Kali Sauerland thinking that he did. But anyway, I'm digressing here. He's a big guy. He can punch a little bit, and he was just pumping Joyce with the same shot over and over again. He couldn't get out of the way. And it feels like the wheels have fallen off the train now. I know that we were saying afterwards, Carl Frampton as well was saying, oh, we can come back and still win a world title, but I'm not so sure. It kind of feels like he's been found out now. He's the kind of guy, Joyce, who needs him. If he hasn't got a title or he's not pushing mandatory positions, no one's going to fight him. And the fact he's lost now will give everyone else a kind of out clause that, oh, I'm not going to fight him unless he gets back in line again and gets himself a shot. But I think I'll just conclude, Matty, by saying we always wondered, well, I wondered anyway, what would happen if Joyce, the immovable object, faced against Wilder, the detonation machine. And I think we got that answer last night. It would have been instant death.
It might have ended up looking like Vitaly against Lennox.
Possibly.
Yeah. Andy, I was just kind of shocked by this one. Like, I really like Joyce. I like the idea of just, that big kind of tank heavyweight. But, just showing that just, sometimes if you're not able to keep that kind of high winky right guard, or if you don't get your head off the line, you're going to get eaten up by somebody that knows how to position their shots. And God love Joyce, man. He couldn't get out of the way of that left hand. And that eye, that's probably the worst eye damage we've seen since he did that to Dubois, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it was pretty bad, the eye, actually. I was kind of half joking. Obviously, you wouldn't get away with it these days by blading that swelling and just trying to get him to see through it. But then, that said, you just don't know if there's been any damage underneath the skin, like, to the face, the orbital bone, that type of thing. Yeah, I agree with you. It was a definite shock. Zhang was pretty much non-flustered that entire fight. Total dominant, I felt. The left hand, as you mentioned, Joyce never took his head off centre line. Carl Frampton kind of called it right afterwards when he said that, he may not have had, the proper adequate southpaw sparring for this fight. He says, but it looked like he never even fought a southpaw before the way he kind of fought there. The only time Joyce moved his head was when Zhang moved it for him with that left hand, and he landed it every time he threw it. By about, well, obviously the second round was a turning point, because obviously Joyce, I think, either a broken nose or it was badly bleeding anyway, at least. So you don't know if he's maybe swallowing blood at that point. When he started to he kind of came out the traps a little bit round 3, but I just don't think he had the zing and the punches. Nothing seemed to kind of phase Zhang when he was landing them. And then obviously,
I don't know about that. I think the fifth round. I think the fifth round, or fifth round or the fourth round, he caught him a few good times. Really slowed him down a bit. I was disappointed that the eye was so bad, because I thought that fight was going to get even better going down the stretch. Like, I thought there was a few more dramatic moments to be had if it wasn't just an issue of the doctor having to step in, honestly. Because I thought Joyce did really well in the fifth and limited Zhang quite a bit.
Well, I would agree with it, but at the same time, I just don't think, even when being hurt in the manner of what he did, obviously the facial damage after the second round was pretty telling at that point. I just don't think that Joyce was really making any dents in him. I know you can maybe say that maybe Zhang was maybe losing a bit of steam. I've seen some people saying in the chat that his mouth was open, on about the fourth or the fifth. But that said, he didn't seem to be taking anything. He wasn't taking any punishment. Says non-flustered every time he landed. That it was telling you actually. Even the crowd was pretty telling when he's peppering Joyce with those left hands, and you see him getting rocked in the manner what he did, standing there, hands straight up, nothing else coming back. Okay, he presses forward, but this wasn't the Joyce of what we've seen, pressing continuously. His shots, basically, just pumping the punches out, just keeping it going, landing shots, and eventually breaking the heart of Zhang. He just couldn't do it by him. Could not do it. You don't want to say that look he can't come again and he can't get another opportunity in that, but that's the type of especially at his age, what 38 is he now at this point? He's an old heavyweight, and after taking the beating of what he did there last night, you may be calling into question: is that the best of him now? Is that the prime of him being beaten out of him?
I wouldn't want to go that far because it wasn't a long fight, right? I guess it matters if it's more superficial or if it's serious damage. But Chris Butler's saying, and kind of to your point,
I agree with him.
Yeah, Joyce didn't look like he had much power. He came in quite a few pounds lighter than his previous fight, and I think that was a mistake. I think kind of like how Tyson Fury seems to have the same engine, 15, 20 pounds either direction. And we can get into that in 10 different ways. I think that Joyce is probably better with a few pounds on him, much the way that Fury was able to lean on Wilder and stuff. And I think by shedding pounds, Andy, I think that he gave away one of his big advantages personally.
Well, I'm just trying to pull up the weights and that from the Joe Parker fight. So it was 271. So he's just under what 15 stone lighter, 15 pound lighter.
Yeah, a full stone though. Yeah, better than a full stone.
Well, they were talking, pre-fight that Joyce was going to be boxing, he was going to be moving the ring and that. I mean, obviously they were going to respect this guy. Obviously he's got heavy hands. But you got to hand it to Zhang, that man. I mean, it's not so much him getting catapulted himself into the heavyweight picture. He's trebucheted himself into the fucking heavyweight picture by doing what he did there last night. You can see that Joyce has got the rematch clause all he wants, but is he going to want to have another fight like that again? Taking that, he needs to learn for that because he can't go into a fight with Zhang like that again. All he's got to do is land that left hand. Swell him up and it stops him. That's all he's going to do.
You might be right. And I'm going to ask Steve this, but I'd also like the opinion of the people in the chat on this. Steve, if you're training Joe Joyce for a rematch against Zhang, are you having him come in heavier?
Probably. I didn't pick up on that beforehand. I know he looked a little bit leaner and he looked in good shape, but then a few people thought that about Benavidez against Plant, didn't they? Whether it would have a detrimental effect. You don't really know beforehand. And I suppose we still don't know afterwards. But yeah, you like him to have that pressure, that power, that physical strength, that little belly to just push people back. But it could have been a factor. But I just think Zhang's heavy hands, his ability to throw the fast left hand, and fights slip away fast, don't they? You're at home, all of a sudden you've been hit in the eye, you can feel it closing, rounds are zipping by, he's gaining in confidence, you're starting to get a bit more desperate. There's a lot of different factors and variables going on in that ring, and I think that as his eyes started closing, he started to panic a little bit more. His nose was busted up as well from very early on. He'd got hurt in the second round. A lot of things going through his head. The weight could have been one of them, but I'm not so sure.
It was a rough fight. It was a rough fight, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of different things. Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, when you're getting called to the doctor twice, that you think to yourself, right, okay, listen, I need to hang my balls out here, I need to go for it, I need to just land something heavy, I've got to hang it all out in the line. He didn't really have it, did he? He didn't have the tank. I think he got beaten out of him.
I don't know about that. I think it was the idea that when he got that left hand was landing so much that if he went and threw more, the left hand was going to hit him more. The fight was going to get stopped. He was kind of fucked.
But his power, though, as I said in the chat, he's an on-top guy, isn't he? We haven't seen him have to come from behind and really land a massive shot to blast somebody out. He's usually on top of people. He ground down Parker to such a point that his hands were down and he was tired when he caught him with that cracking left hand. The other numpties are crap as it is. The likes of Joe Hanks and Calvin Palmer and all them ones. He's bound to knock them out. But the other kind of guys, he's always been on top. Like Takam, he was on top for rounds, wasn't he? Busting him down, weakening him. And then eventually the power just told, the relentless pressure and aggression told. We haven't seen him before have to come back and ice somebody. So we didn't know if he was capable of doing it or not.
Well, I just, I am curious because I would like to see, I would like to see the rematch. Because I think it could definitely go differently. especially in heavyweight boxing. It's its own animal.
How does it go different though, Matty? He's got to defend that left hand, mate. He had no answer to it. Right from the very first minute of that fucking fight, he had no defense to that left hand.
You're right. I think, Andy, at this point in time, that Joyce and his team are aware that if they take the rematch, they're going to have to try to avoid his left hand. I think that's probably on the front of their mind at this point in time.
Well, did they not mention the potential about a tune-up fight before going into the rematch? I know what I think Warren said last, or George Warren mentioned about a 2-fight option on Zhang now, so the rematch would make sense, and in terms of Joyce at least. You're going to have to get him in with a southpaw in his next fight. And it's going to have to be one as well. Like he's not going to be like looking bad against, and he's going to have to kind of get rounds against him. From what we've seen him, at least we've always known he defends with his face. But that said, what is he going to do differently against Zhang, who's just going to lob that left hand in like a grenade all night long? And that's what's just going to happen. He's going to keep landing that left hand unless he can move.
This is what he has to do. He has to put that weight back on, and he has to be fighting at a tighter distance. That hand's not going to land as much when he's a foot away as it was when he was 2 feet away. Yeah, that's what he has to do. And again, I think there's parallels to the Wilder and in Fury matches, and Wilder putting on the weight. He was like, look at the way this fat ass is looking, and he just went in there and big manned him. I don't, obviously Zhang is a bigger man than Deontay Wilder, but I think that there's some similarities in that. And if I'm Joe Joyce, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to try to go back in there at 270 or a little better, and I am just going to try to stay on his chest all night long. So
I wonder why they took it. I wonder what the thinking was like, because I know it's hindsight. I praised them at the time. I thought it was a really good fight. They must have just thought that Zhang would tire down the stretch and Joe would just kind of be able to eat everything up and walk him down, and he's old and blah, blah, blah. That must have been the thinking.
That was my thinking, at least, mate. I didn't think Zhang. I think pretty much all of us picked Joyce to win last week, unless I'm wrong.
I did, yeah.
I think I went with the late stoppage. I'm the same as you. I thought he would have tired late, and Joyce would have got to him. The superior stamina would have came into equation. White, who was there, pre-fight, was all vocal about wanting Joyce, and then he's disappeared after the fight's ended. Maybe not wanting any of that Zhang's. But just to go back to what Matty was saying there. You can see that Zhang is an actually bigger heavyweight. I mean, just looking at his weights here, he's been pretty much roughly the kind of same weight throughout his pro career. 270 odd pounds, 280 pounds. He's a big dude, almost 20 stone. That's the bigger guy. I just think Joyce, apart from like slipping the jab, maybe throwing the right hand down the middle and that. And I mentioned to you guys last night, but his lack of body work by Joyce as well was quite telling. There was no jabs to the stomach. There was no left hooks to the body. Certainly when he tried to throw the left hook, that he looked very slow. I just think the fight was lost early doors. I think for the first 2 rounds, I think that fight was lost actually, especially after he got hurt.
Well, the odds were wide, Andy. I mean, I'll tell you, everyone's like, how can we not see this coming? Everybody in the Nutters Prediction League, despite the chance to get double points if they went on Zhang, still went with Joe Joyce to win the fight. Interestingly enough, though, the Honorable Mr. Joe Kennedy, I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying this, placed 2 bets on the fight, though. Just a couple of $5 bets he decided to wing. One was on Zhang to win in rounds 1 through 6 at 25-1. The other one was Zhang just to win by KO, TKO, DQ at 12-1. So he put $10 of bets in and walked away with just shy of $200. So fair play to Mr. Joe Kennedy, because even though he didn't take it in the prediction league, he lined his pockets with this. with this Zhang
Joe put out a little nibble, didn't he, by saying you got double points for Zhang. He knew what he was doing, but I think the real winner of the night, Matty, was Holly. The lone female member of the Nutters group who went down to the fight and bumped into the Gad and got a selfie as well. So Holly was on form last night. So fair play to her.
Yeah. She met the Gad and she made it home safely. So clearly we've been too hard on the Gad.
I haven't heard from her since.
I was going to say, we've not heard anything.
Huh?
Zero Dark 30.
No, she hasn't tweeted. She hasn't messaged today. I don't think.
She's maybe in the shower.
That's a fair point. Yeah, it's better in the shower than in the pit, Andy. I mean, you got to kind of weigh the options there.
Yeah, I
Again.
suppose. There we go.
Good God. Oh well. I changed my my statement to we all pray for Holly's safe return.
See, in terms of upset, I mean, that's obviously to me that's going to be upset of the year because I think the only fight I can think of so far would be Oshaki Foster against Ray Vargas as my upset of the year.
If you're talking odds, there's 3 fights that I think are kind of in the ballpark on it right now. One was when the Atoma brother lost earlier this year. One was the other one would have been Fundora against Mendoza. Those odds were massively wide. And then this, I think all 3 of those
I think
are
this is bigger.
worthy.
This is like a man. This is practically like sitting in a mandatory.
So was Fundora. So was Fundora.
Fundora had the title, did he not?
He was interim.
Well, there you go. So it's not really a world title then.
Yeah, but he was on the door. He was one of the guys waiting on the Charlo fucking.
Joyce was interim as well, wasn't he? Didn't he? Have some
you're right.
fight?
It's exactly. All of it's very similar. Like I said, the Atoma was just that one was just a weird thing where he was a young guy, and I think that should be thrown out. But I think either Fundora or Joyce losing definitely up there for upset of the year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did anyone put any answers in? What the fuck was the question that I asked? Oh, if they'd have any, I was way back there. Anyways, yeah, that was crazy. We'll see if they come up with the rematch. I would like to see it personally. It was very shocking. I didn't, what was sad is I knew like there was not much going on, and yet I sat down on the couch to watch it, and I still managed to doze off somewhere about 1:30, I think, in the afternoon over here. So I didn't see a whole lot of what was going on. I missed Michaela Mayer, and I went to try to find it again on ESPN Plus. Steven, it's not there. They kept Michaela from me. Would you please let me know what happened on the rest of this card? I think I saw Sam Noakes beating the crap out of an Indian, which I think is not part of the agreement set in like, what was that, 48 or 49? Not cool. Not cool.
No, not cool at all. Flip me, you managed to miss Michaela Mayer, and I had to sit through the whole 10 rounds. Life's not fair here, Matty. You would have enjoyed it far more than me. Yeah, Michaela's come over. She's done a job. She was a lot better than this Lucy Wildheart, who came in as a late replacement. Fair play to her. I think she was unbeaten. Was she unbeaten, or she maybe lost one?
I think a one loss, or I think she was 10 and 1.
Oh, she fought the IBO title or something. Oh, she fought Yoka's sister or wife or both. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not up on women's boxing, as you know. But anyway, Michaela Mayer's neat and tidy, but it's pretty pointless, that fight for me. I wasn't that fussed on it. Sam Noakes got a second round knockout win over Karthik Satish Kumar. He wasn't as much fun as that fellow who fought Zapata the other week, unfortunately.
It ended quickly, Steve. I think that's better.
It ended too quickly. The supervisor for that fight was Debbie Down, so a bit of a Debbie Downer on that fight for you, Matty, against Sam Noakes. I used to know a fella, Tom, you called him. He run a nutrition brand, and he was big on Sam Noakes. He used to tell me that he had a really good future. I don't know whether he was local to him or what, but he always used to say, oh, Sam Noakes, yeah, he's doing great. He's going to be a really good fighter. So I've kind of bared him in mind since then, and he's 10-0, 11-0 now. Got the Commonwealth title as well. So good luck to him. Denzel Bentley. Now, I nearly took an L on the prediction league with Denzel Bentley. I was looking at Kieran Smith. I know he'd fought against Troy Williamson. And he'd gone 6 rounds, then got knocked out. He was a pretty decent fighter. I thought, oh, you know what? He might be able to fiddle his way to the final bell here. And I had it down as a points win for Bentley. And then I thought, nah, Denzel's a big puncher. He's knocked about 14, 15 people out. So I'll go for the knockout. Maybe a late knockout. And there he was. He absolutely iced him in the first round with a stunning left hand. Right on the top of the head and got rid of him. Also, I saw Moses Itoma against Konstantin Dovibishenko. A little tough, fat guy, Dovibishenko. Did his job, took Itoma a few rounds. He's definitely learning the trade nicely. Undercard wasn't the best, to be honest with you, but it was all about the main event. But I did suffer through most of it. Good early knockouts for Noakes and Bentley. A bit of a 10-round boxing lesson from Mayer, Itoma getting the win as well, and then Joe Joyce in the main event.
Yeah, and I do think for all 6 rounds of that was a pretty decent and entertaining fight. It was a good fight all in all. Main event did not disappoint, except for the fact that everybody wanted Joyce to win and he didn't, and that was sad. But anyways, the Honorable Ben Farouki saying it was 1947, but we'll let you off. The fact that it's not my country's history and I was within a year, I'm very, very proud of myself on that one. I'm taking that one as a W, and I think they should have counted that if it was in a classroom. Andy, what was your highlight of the card other than the Joyce fight? Anything in particular that you were keen on?
Not much, mate. Obviously the Noakes Bentley fight that I watched. Steve said it all. I can't add much more. Didn't really watch Mary, to be fair. Actually, I can't remember what I was doing at the time. I seen the bits of Tama on that as well, but it looked like the guy was just there purely to survive, which is fair enough. It was kind of an odd one actually to have a kid who's like on the potentially like a KO streak just to kind of have him then go 6 rounds. But that's what you want actually. You want to see him kind of like try and figure those things out. So yeah, it was pretty poor. I felt actually the entire card, obviously because there was a lot of filler. Obviously, a few of the fights went very, very short, and that, so obviously didn't really have much else to kind of fill the card, and that, so it was average, shall we say, but there's not really much else I can report on it, mate.
I'll just say, Matty, quickly, just going back to Joyce's interview at the end. As I say, I do like Joyce. He's not a natural in front of the camera, and he'd be the first to admit that. But I liked the way he referenced the irony of his eye going, and maybe it was payback for me doing that to Daniel Dubois. So I thought that was a nice little line from Joyce, a bit of self-deprecation there.
I appreciate everyone who kind of understands how the universe works. So payback is a bitch. Said I was nasty, poor, but damn it. I was high on Joyce, and that came crashing down. Did either of y'all catch the Archie Sharp card on Friday?
No, I don't think it was televised. I was looking for it the next day. I don't think anybody. I thought it was on BT for some reason. Because it used to be promoted by Frank, but I don't think it was.
I'm sure it was on Fight Plus, was it not?
Oh, right, okay.
That's what's funny is it was available on there, and like I could have gone back and watched it this weekend, but I didn't, thinking, oh, they had to have watched that. That had to have been more easily available for them than it was.
Who was in the card again? There was somebody else in the card.
Yeah, Jordan Reynolds was on it, and there was someone else of note, wasn't there?
Yeah,
I can't remember now.
What names are note? I see Mark Bacoli's fighting in. Where is he fighting next week? Poland. Fighting in Poland.
Danny Dignam was the other name that I noticed on that card, but I couldn't find it in the usual places, Andy. And I wasn't that desperate to watch it. I mean, what other things you can do on a Saturday afternoon? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was absolutely, mate. Fucking bro weather yesterday, so out in the sunshine,
Oh, they are. Mike Hunt says Sharp left Frank about 2 years ago for Pobellum. I didn't realise that, so thanks for clearing that up. About the same time Sonny Edwards left Frank as well. Well, there you are. It seems to be working out well for him.
What I did see last night, Matt, if you want to mention it in this now, Ernesto Mercado knocking out Hank Lundy 1 round, brutally iced him with a right uppercut. So that Mercado, I think he's only 21, 10-0, 10 knockouts. That's him got a couple. He's got Jason Velez, he's got that Alfredo Rodolfo Blanco, who I think he's fought a few world champions or maybe challenged for a title possibly. So he's maybe making a wee way for himself and that. So maybe interesting could be wee eyeing that guy, Ernesto Mercado.
Matty, I've got something to add as well. Just making waves. I neglected to mention this last weekend. There was a new potential friend of the pod, Khalid Bethia, was fighting. He got knocked out in the first round. He's 37 years of age. He's 5'9" southpaw. He's now 0-3. Why on earth would you be mentioning him, you might ask yourself? Well, Mr. Bethia made his debut in May 2019 down at super lightweight. He weighed in at 137 pounds. He then came back 3 years later. He'd clearly been busy at 226. So just the 89-pound increase. And then he svelted down to a 207 against Ali Ellis last weekend. So he went from 137 to 226 in 3 years, and he got knocked out in a round last year. So the 89 pounds obviously aren't sitting there well on him.
Oh, I tell you, it was on last night as well, actually, free to air YouTube. I was kind of flicking, but that's what I was watching during the filler, actually, on the BT card. Prince Patel fighting in a rematch against Good Luck Merma. It's a rematch from the first fight that they held at the basketball court in Accra, Ghana. Prince Patel prevails with a 5th round stoppage. Questionable, actually, to be fair, because I'm sure that the fucking Tanzanian took a dive. A couple of those knockdowns are questionable. If anybody's seen it, will know what I'm talking about, actually. I don't think it was enough for him to kind of take a knee in the manner of what he did, and basically he earned his money anyway, put it that way. Let's just put it like that. Somebody's going to have watched it. Aye, Michael Thompson, I think Ty and Booth was meant to be in the crowd, maybe been on comms and that as well. But yeah, it was pretty awful stuff, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I tell you, it was rough times, Steve. I just went and I looked in the StreamYard stuff and didn't see a question in there either.
No, I think there was a comment. StreamYard are absolute bastards for you. You upload the things and then they disappear. So I think the comment has fallen by the wayside. Let me just put it back up for you, Matty. It's in as a question, but it was Peter. Sorry, there you go.
Let's see here. Peter says, wouldn't any knowledgeable trainer actually try and teach Joyce some form of basic defense instead of believing Joyce can absorb dozens of massive heavyweight shots flush to the face dozens of times every fight? As well as the punch resilience eventually wearing off you, you always have to be concerned with physical damage, which cost Joyce tonight. Well, I mean, Ismail Salas is a tremendously knowledgeable trainer. Just because you teach somebody to do it in the gym doesn't mean they're going to do it in the ring necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. You can have all the knowledge you want. We know Salas is a great trainer. I think he works with a particular style, which is obviously the Cuban style, very well. He's done great recently with the likes of Ugas, and he has his skill set. But there's only so much you can teach these guys. He's not going to have Joyce running around like Felix Savon, unfortunately. So, and he's maybe a bit too short as well. I like a tall, bulky trainer for a heavyweight. I don't like to see people on stilts or those high heel platform shoes. That's not for me, though.
Nah, yeah, or having their hands way up there. Didn't they do something really goofy for David Hay when he fought Vladimir Klitschko?
No, it was for Value. Did it be Adam Booth it for Value fight?
There you go. Yeah, I remember some. Yeah. So it. Yeah. It's a kind of a weird time boxing, but we have some good stuff coming up here. I'm afraid if we get going too early on some things that Rob isn't going to ever be part of the conversation.
On this, I don't think Rob's going to be on tonight, is he? We'll be finished by 9:05 at this rate.
Yeah,
it's for the first time in history, I would think.
Tremendously intense. Well, don't you think like part of like what we worry about is so like you have a few weeks ago, or about even last week, on Showtime, and then you had something on DAZN, and then there was something on ESPN, all happening simultaneously. And then I think it's May 27th, or it's the week after the Katie Taylor fight. There's like 3 cards going on the same day, Steve. It's like they can't look at other people's calendars and give some consideration of, hey, maybe we could get better numbers if we were to not have it on the same day. But instead, they want to put on all these cards going on at the same fucking time. I mean, it's one thing if, they're in different freaking time zones and countries and shit, but, all in the same general vicinity. It gets a little ridiculous. And what the hell are they doing here? I mean, they're just stepping on their own toes.
Yeah, it is silly, but there doesn't seem to ever... There's not going to be anything sorted out regarding this. We've spoken about it for years, haven't we? It seems odd that they're all fighting on that same night. You've got Lee Wood on DAZN. You've got, I think, Chris Billam-Smith on Boxer, and then Conlan's fighting. I think that's on BT Sport. I'll be going to that one, hopefully. But all on the same night. It'll be in their interest, you think, to have a chat or from the grapevine. But they're also stubborn, aren't they? I'll put it on. I'll be the main event. No, I'll put it on, and we'll run ours. And they are geographically in really different locations, so they're not going to affect each other that way. But from a viewing experience, I suppose they don't care. I know people have spoken in the past about trying to create some kind of calendar like in the amateur system and having certain dates blacked out for, but you've got that many different promoters and fighters, and you can't say, oh, we'll book out an arena here on this date because such a fighter might not be available, or it's never going to work out. So you just have to get on with it. But it's frustrating, as you say. Some weeks, we're absolutely rushing everything like mad to fit it in to the 3 hours. And then other weeks you could have done with talking about, they could have done with like Fundora being this morning. And then you could have had Shakura last weekend. And it would have been a lot handier for us. They don't think about the podcasting virgins in this whole scenario either, Magna.
It's bullshit. We're at the bottom rung of the ladder of society, and I'm tired of it.
Yeah, licking the anus of the boxing promoter.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Andy, are you tired of licking anuses?
I've never tossed a salad, mate.
Some people like it with jelly, and some prefer syrup. I prefer syrup. If you know that quote, God love you. You're one of my people. Anyhow.
Quickly, is there not a Thompson boxing card or a show box or something, for goodness sake?
Yeah, well, there is some interesting things coming up, Steve. If I told you that Louis Collazo would be headlining a card on Pro Box TV, would you believe me?
I would, and I'll tell you why. Because friend of the pod, Dominic Henry, who joined me for a recent Punches from the Past special on Patreon, actually sent me a message during the week making me aware of this fight. And he was worried that he's starting to slip into Roy Jones Jr., Danny Williams territory, Collazo. I don't think he's quite getting that bad just yet, but it is starting to get a bit worrying. He must be about 40 odd now. I think he's had 50 fights. His last fight was about 18 months ago against Stanionis, which was the head clash. And he's another one who doesn't know what to do with himself, keeps coming back, doesn't he? I thought this was a support act, actually. The fact it's a headliner is a bit concerning as well. But a once great fighter, well, maybe not a great fighter, Collazo, but he was a good one. He gave a lot of trouble to a lot of good fighters, and he's just going on too long. Bit like me. Maybe I'm going on too long, am I, Matty?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I actually muted myself there.
What's next for Oliver McCall, says John?
well, for a Wednesday, Steve, I don't think this is bad. You have Collazo going in against Astorga, who is 17-2-1 with 12 knockouts. So that is the kind of interesting fights. If records are in fact for DJs, you wouldn't give a kid with that kind of a record and write him off at this point in time. So we will have a Pro Box card to enjoy on Wednesday night. So that's going to be pretty fantastic. So we have that going for us. Andy, tell us about something obscure that you might be aware of that's going on in the world over the next week of boxing.
Talk about that's one that you can drop on you straight away. Obscure, really obscure. I have no idea.
Are you watching something from Poland this week or sub-Saharan Africa?
No. Thomas, I see there's some sort of civil war kicking off again in Sudan. If you want to talk about that,
I've got something obscure, Matty. If you want me to throw it in quickly for you,
go for it.
It's not from this weekend, but I was looking back on the old Substack article that I write every week, and on this weekend, the 15th of April, Saturday the 15th of April, back in 2004, so we're going back nearly 20 years, 19 years, in the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, there was a Showtime card. Cedric Kushner was promoting it. He obviously died a few years ago, and in the main event, you had Jeremy Williams. I don't know if anybody remembers him. He was supposed to fight Ike Bayabuchi at one point. He knocked out Attila Levin, who was a big heavyweight from Sweden. He was banned from fighting at home, I think, at that time for whatever reason. But he had Angelo Dundee in the corner. He was very talented, Levin. I remember we mentioned him to Otto Wallin, but he lost to Williams on that occasion. And also Jamil Big Time McLean was on the undercard. He got a first-round knockout win over Wayne Llewellyn, who was a big punching heavyweight from, I think he was from London. Big Time had fought Vladimir Klitschko a couple of years before. And also on the card, another fighter we've mentioned before, the Lion from Zion, Israeli Roman Greenberg, improved to 15-0 with a points win as well over Jason Gethers. Greenberg was promoted by Robert Waterman, and I think Dennis Hobson and Fight Academy are involved as well. He used to fight on the BBC on David Hay cards possibly and things like that. So, and Clinton Woods. So that was interesting 19 years ago. Well, maybe not so interesting now that I think about it, but I thought I'd throw it in anyway.
But it did happen yesterday in history.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
19 years ago, yeah.
It's a true fact. You did not lie. Also something that happened, I tried, Steve, to get Joe Kennedy to put this fight into the prediction league, but he wouldn't do it. It was a fight coming from South America, and it was a trilogy fight, Steve. A trilogy fight between Jose Velasquez, who was once challenged for a bantamweight title, against Roman Everonga, who was once defeated by Velasquez by stoppage, but was able to gain his revenge with a split decision victory in the rematch. Well, in the rubber match, well, it was Velasquez who was able to pull off the 9th round TKO victory in that. And I'm still going to be trying to seek out the footage of this one. And I hope it was an exceptional fight that happened in South America. But
Bolivia, no less, with no Saul Farrer knocking about either.
I know. It was a fight from Bolivia, and Andy didn't watch it.
No. I'll go something crazy. On this day, the 16th, April 1952, Sugar Ray Robinson retained his world middleweight title with a third-round knockout of former world champion Rocky Graziano. Did you watch that one, Matty?
No, I haven't had a chance to watch that particular fight from 75 years ago. Or 70 years ago. 70.
I know Steve's watched it.
Back in the day I have, but not recently.
Yeah. No. Was it a really good fight, Andy, or was it just a one-sided beatdown?
I'm trying to remember if that was the one with the.
Have you seen the fight,
left
Andy?
hook. Yeah, I've seen the fight. Aye.
This is what our lives have come
Was that
to.
up at middleweight, that one?
Aye.
That would have been up at middleweight, wouldn't
Seen
it?
here as well, actually, 14th of April 2007, Ruslan Chagaev became the new WBA champion after defeating Nikolai Valuev. And actually, yesterday, in 1985, Marvin Hagler beat Tommy Hearns. Then tomorrow, we'll see the anniversary of Nino Benvenuti in 1967 winning the world middleweight title by defeating Emilio Griffith.
All right. There we go. These days in boxing history. Good for us.
Yeah, MB's talking about a Conlon show on Friday night. I think that's in Galway, actually. The last time they were supposed to have a show in Galway was about 12 years ago, maybe, at the Salt Hills. Chris Rock was promoting it, not that one. And it fell through the day before, and it never actually happened. So hopefully there'll be more luck for Kurt Walker and Kieran Malloy this weekend. I think one of the Donovan brothers is on that as well. Lovely part of the world, Galway, if you've never been. But I'll not be venturing down, unfortunately, to that show. But I think Top Rank and Conlon are putting that one on, Matty.
Excellent. Well, and that's on Friday, you said?
Yeah, Friday night, yeah.
And that will that be on television?
I don't think it'll be on television.
That's disappointing.
No, although Top Rank are involved, and they do tend to get this ESPN Plus. I know they've been showing a lot of the Canada cards, so it might turn up somewhere. But to the best of my knowledge, I don't think so.
I thought Sky had the Top Rank cards.
They had some kind of deal with them, but I think they only show the big ones, don't they?
Right.
The things like ESPN Plus, which aren't directly related to Bob, I'm not sure whether they show them, so I can't see Sky being interested in this particular level. I wouldn't have thought, no.
Well, hell, there's just not a whole lot going on, man. Let's see here. I'm going to go, let's go over and check this. There's a lot of fights going on this, Steve and Andy, so feel free to kind of draw this out so maybe we can get Rob in here. But because I definitely would I want Rob to be here to talk about obviously the pay-per-view coming up this weekend. But there's going to be the DAZN card coming in from Cardiff, Wales on Saturday, which would be great for me. Get to watch that in the afternoon, then be able to watch the pay-per-view in the evening time. And Steve, I'll tell you, there's a lot of things on here that maybe you like, some things you don't like. As I go through the card, though, I'm saying, my God, this has the potential to be a very, very late night. For those in attendance and watching at home in the same time zone, if you're thinking the telecast is going to kick off with Zelfa Barrett versus Alex Dilmagani, and that's scheduled to over 12 rounds at 130 pounds. And then another 12-round contest with Gavin Gwynn against Craig Woodruff for Gwynn's British lightweight title. And then we got a 10-round cruiserweight contest between Jordan Thompson and Luke Watkins. Then Sandy Ryan versus Marie Pierhoul. That's obviously going 10 rounds. And then we also are going to have Rakhimov and Cordina over 12. So, Steve, let's just count it up. If for some reason all those find their ways to go the distance, we've got 24, 34, 44, 56, 68 potential rounds of boxing on DAZN on Saturday. Are you pumped?
No, it sounds horrific. I'm struggling to get up for that, to be honest with you. But I will pick out a few names for you that do take my interest. So Sky Nicholson's opponent, Linda Laura Leca. We've mentioned her before. She's from Peru. She's the Inca, La Princesa Inca. She was featured in WBA champion or serial killer, as I mentioned before a while back. So she should bring a bit of interest. Sandy Ryan, no interested in her. She's not fighting an Argentine. Her opponent looks very happy with herself, actually, old Marie. I should have cut that. She looks really pleased to be here. So good luck to her, I say. Jordan Thompson's an absolute unit. He's about 6'6". I thought he was fighting on the Frank cards back in the day, but he seems to, in the copper box and all that, but he seems to have moved over now. He's going in against Luke the Duke Watkins, who was a decent fighter once upon a time. I saw him ice Ian Timms once on a Ryan Burnett undercard. Absolutely brutalizing that was. He had a few good wins as well over Dupree, Stafford. Got beaten by Lawrence Okoli, then lost to Isaac Chamberlain. He's kind of faded out into obscurity since. He's from Swindon. Watkins, he was going to fight Tommy McCarthy at one point, but that never materialised. Who else have we got here? Zelfa Barrett, you mentioned about fighting Alex Dilmagani. I think Dilmagani's out now, Matty. He's fighting a guy from Albuquerque called Jason Sanchez over 12 rounds. So unfortunately, the Dilmagani fight's not happening, which would have been a good fight, really, because we've seen Dilmagani in the past. I know he was over in Mexico sparring Juan Manuel Marquez, and he had a great fight on Channel 5. I think it ended up either he won a majority or it ended up in a draw against Francisco Fonseca, who you might remember fought Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis, which is very timely for this weekend. And then we've got Gavin Gwynn, who beat Sean McComb and lost to James Tennyson. He's going in against Craig Woodruff. They fought for the British lightweight title to a draw last time out. Woodruff's a good little scrapper as well. He fought somebody, Gary Cully. That's it. He lost in the studios to Gary Cully. He's a tough guy, Woodruff. And shout out to friend of the pod, Sonny Davis, who's in the chat as well. He interviewed Gavin Gwynn. We put that up on our SoundCloud on the iTunes for the podcast. So if you want to go and listen to part 1, that's up there as well. Gavin Gwynn seems like a really good guy. So he's rematching against Woodruff for the British title. And I think that's pretty much all the undercard that I can muster, Matty. I've tried hard there. I've put in some hard yards to get through that.
I'm impressed. Andy, and I tell you what, it surprised you that I forgot about a card, but we'll get to that in a second. Andy, what's your highlight from this card other than the main event, which actually might be an interesting fight?
I'll probably go with the Thompson-Watkins fight, possibly, mate. The guy that Silva Barrett's fighting, to be fair, I've got no idea who he is until I pulled up his record. I know he's been in with Valdez, for example, but I've got no recollection of that fight whatsoever, so I've no idea if he's just one of your typical American gatekeepers or whatever, and it's just a kind of tick-over fight for Barrett, coming off, obviously, getting beat off Rakhimov himself in that. I think it might be his last fight, actually. But, not really bothered about any of the women's fight, for example. I think Sandy Ryan's getting another crack at the world title, or some sort of version of it, at least, anyway. So, not really kind of bothered about it. I know you'll be over that shit, though, to be fair. And yeah, probably the Gwynn Woodruff fight should be another competitive 50-50 as such, possibly. I think it'll be another close decision of some sort. Either guy, again, I think it will just depend on the night. I think it might be a fight that maybe goes a distance that will probably rely on a couple of points either side. So maybe that one might be a decent enough one to watch in terms of, with it being a competitive fight. I don't know much else about what else is on the card, to be fair, mate. I've not really done any kind of legwork on it like Steve's done there, but a lot of kind of meh, shall we say.
You there, Matty?
Oh, yes, Steve. I was just looking at something, and I have some good news for you, Steve. I have some good news. They had the Woodruff fight listed twice, so actually there's only 56 rounds of potential action that you might see.
Oh, thank God for that.
Yeah. So there you go. Things just got a little brighter in the Wellington household this evening. Now, as for the main event, definitely a much more interesting fight with Rakhimov taking on Joe Cordina. Joe Cordina getting that wicked knockout last time out to claim the title. But, Steve, that punch, not necessarily the common story of Cordina's career. Rakhimov, a bit more of a puncher, come forward fighter. Cordina is a favorite here, but I'm kind of leaning the other direction, which clearly means that Cordina is going to win and win convincingly.
Absolutely. You checked me backstage when we were discussing this. I thought at first Cordina was going to get the knockout, but as you rightly say, that's more the exception than the rule. The knockout over a go. It was an absolute cracking shot, but it's not something that has been a regular occurrence during Cordina's career. He's 15-0. He's finally stepped up and he's got to this good level. I think he's going to win on points against Rakhimov. I think Rakhimov's a good fighter. He showed in that Zhilei fight, there was something definitely funny about that. It's very suspicious. They were pretty even, Steven. Zhilei is a good boxer, but he just fade down the stretch generally. But he came back out like a man possessed, Rakhimov, after he had the old smelling salts there and knocked him out in the 8th round. A draw with Jojo Diaz. No shame in that whatsoever. Diaz is a good fighter. He's a bit lazy and he's a bit fat, but he has skills. And
that was at a better weight for Diaz, too.
Yes.
Certainly.
Yeah, I'm going to say, and he has, he's not easily put away, especially down at super featherweight. So I think that was a good draw. I think it was a fair draw. I seem to remember on the night, I thought Diaz might have just done enough, but I can't say in any great certainty because I feel, you know what I'm like, I forget these fights. But that's a good draw on the record for him. And then in his last fight, he was struggling with Barrett a little bit. It says he was down once in the third. I don't remember him actually getting dropped, but I know he's struggling with the boxing skills of Barrett over in Abu Dhabi. I think that was, off the top of my head, on the undercard of, was it Ramirez Bivol, I want to say. And he didn't look great, to be honest. And I think Cordina can take that blueprint from Barrett, carry it on for the full 12 rounds. He's going to have his moments, Rakhimov. He's no mug by any account, and he can definitely punch a little bit. But I think Cordina will be too savvy for him at home. And with the benefit of the home judges, which we didn't mention about the main event as well, one of them having Joyce ahead. I think it was Phil Edwards. So I think Cordina's a shoo-in for a 12-round points win on this for my money, Matty.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but wasn't Cordina out of the ring for a fair spell before that win over Agawa?
Yeah, the hand problem, sure. I mean, he might have broke his hand, possibly, or needed surgery. I think he had to vacate the belt, possibly, as well.
You know, and considering, so you have the fight when that happened, and then only 2 rounds with Agawa, so you're probably talking 18, 24-month stretch. The man only has 2 rounds in. Do you think that might come into play if this fight gets into the championship rounds?
Well, yeah, possibly it could. I mean, Rakhimov is a strong, tall guy for the weight. He does make it rough. He can fight on the inside, and that's where Cordina's probably going to have to, fight at some point. It's an interesting one for me, actually. I agree with what Steve was saying. That there was definitely some dodgy dealings in that fight in Africa, especially with all the drug gear and paraphernalia getting found in the hotel room after the fight, and then getting smelling salts in between rounds and coming out like fucking Aaron Pryor against Alexis Arguello, man, and kick the fuck out of him. It was just insane.
Being on the gear is part of the reason I'm going for him, Andy. I'm not going for him, but picking him in so much. I'm like, he's probably on the fucking drugs. So let's go Rakhimov.
That said, though, I mean, obviously the fight that against Ogawa was a bit of an upset for me. So not the fact that he won; it was the manner in which he won, actually, because Ogawa was obviously proven in the past that he was always strong and willing to trade. Never seen him getting done like that. Actually, to be fair, never really kind of recovered after taking that right hand. So I'm going to say Cordina probably wins on points. I think it will be close. I think he'll probably need to dig in at times, but he certainly needs to just use his skills, use his movement. Might have a wee bit of kind of issue with being unorthodox against a southpaw possibly in that as well. You just don't know if that might come into play. The feet might get tied up basically, but I suspect Cordina will probably try and keep it mid-distance and that, and just try and box, try and keep it as safe as possible. I think for the 12 rounds. And I think if he wins this fight, they're saying that he's a 2-time champion of some sort. I think that's right, because I think it was Rakhimov he was meant to fight actually, and that's what happened. That he needed surgery, and then Rakhimov, who did he fight? Was it Barrett? I think for the belt. Am I right in saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was in Dubai or Saudi Arabia.
Aye, so whatever happened there, I can't mind. But yeah,
he stopped him. I think in the 8th or the 9th round. I think Steve touched on. I think Barrett got off to a good start, boxing well, and then Rakhimov just started to overwhelm him.
Yeah, it was the Bivol Zerdo undercard. Sorry, yeah, I'm just
Right.
catching up on what you guys are saying. I didn't even realize Cordina had been stripped. So Rakhimov technically is the champion then coming in here. I didn't realize that.
So I take it, is this an intern belt that Cordina held in?
No, seems to be the proper one.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat will know. I have no idea. I haven't been following it.
I don't think we should think about that too hard. It's all a bunch of fuckery, anyways.
Yeah, they're saying about him juicing or something in the chat. I don't know.
Who?
Cordina. I suppose they're all at it these days, aren't they?
So it says here that Rakhimov won the vacant belt in November 2022 against Barrett, and Cordina, he's won the belt against.
Oh, here we are.
So
he couldn't fulfill his mandatory. Cordina, he got stripped. Yeah, Mike Hunt, he knows all this stuff. He's thrown in a few little qualifiers here today, clarifications. He won the full belt, but got stripped because he couldn't fulfill his mando. And then obviously Rakhimov won the vacant against Barrett. So that's it, Andy.
Yep. Right, Mike Hunt is tops.
Absolutely, he's doing well today.
Aye.
One of the best.
It's hard to
names
keep up with
ever.
all this shit, isn't it, man? I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? Like, I mean, they say, oh, you know, you can't know about Cordina and all that, but who fucking cares?
I just think it's going to be a good fight, and I think that's what matters most. I mean, the titles are just so secondary to anything anymore. At the end of the day, I pretty much am just looking at things in the sense of, is this going to be an entertaining and competitive fight? And I think this definitely qualifies. I don't, I know, Steve, you're thinking that. Going to end up in decision, and this is going to be a prediction league fight, Steve. So this is worth thinking about. But it's it's one of those that even if it goes to a decision, I don't think Cordina's winning it, 117, 111, unless there's fuckery afoot. I think it'll be a reasonably close fight on the cards if it goes to the cards, with maybe even the person on the losing end getting a card, or there being an even one. A knockdown could even decide this fight. I think it's definitely, it could be the best fight of the weekend, and I think that speaks volumes.
Oh no, I don't think so. I think that no matter what happens in Tank Garcia up to the point of the finish, the knockout will make it the most explosive finish of the weekend. But yeah, pound for pound, over 12 rounds, it could be the best fight of the weekend. But I kind of disagree with your projection. I know the skullduggery in British boxing, even though you feel like it's a close fight, I could very easily see there being a 117, 111 scorecard coming in Cordina's favour. That would not surprise me. But I do agree with you. I think it will be a very close fight. And one of the guys was saying in the chat about maybe being a smaller ring. And if you take into account the fact that Cordina, whatever he's been up to, he has been inactive, so he will have to shed a bit of rust. So, and Rakhimov, he is a tough dude over the 12 rounds. So yeah, you never know.
You just know if Terry O'Connor appears on that judging panel, absolutely know unequivocally who that card's going for. Is paid for it, all ends up. And if Howard Foster appears in the ring as the referee, oh shit, Rakhimov's got no room for a manoeuvre.
It's dirty as a Bangkok whore.
Yep. Shout out to Zhilei Zhang.
Entirely different countries.
I was joking because of Bunsey and the casual racism last night.
I assume we're getting to that later, Steve.
It might get a mention.
I could do it. Could very well do. What an arse.
Well, Steve, I'll tell you what. If for some reason this didn't tickle your fancy, check out this card that we're going to be having in Poland also on Saturday. I'm going to start. Let's start down here. I don't know if I know any of these guys. You got Steed Woodall against Boris Crichton. You move up one, though. Martin Bacoli against Ihor Shevadzutsky, something like that. Ihor
Shevadzutsky.
Something like that, Steve.
Yeah.
Won over Kevin Johnson and Kamil Sokolowski as well.
For goodness sake.
There you go. Then Laura Gribbs against Maria Chechi, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing Laura's last name wrong.
Check her box rec.
Then Michael Sislak against Dylan Brajone. But headline, Steve, in a Bridgerweight title fight. Lukas Ruzansky against Alan the Savage Pavich. This could be the real blast of the weekend, sir. Why is this even going now? This should be going last. This is what everyone is looking forward to.
That will be on a Polish free-to-air TV, actually, so I might get to see that. I was just thinking, see the guy that Sislak's fighting? I'm sure, was that not the guy that Chris Bellum-Smith went?
I'm going to say, did he not fight Tommy McCarthy or somebody, or he was in that kind of little round robin between, when they're all showing the cruiserweight fights on Sky Sports? Yeah, you're right. He did. He fought Chris Bellum-Smith. That's right. Yeah, I remember him.
Yep, and he's going to go in the distance there. Looks like a tough bastard.
Yep. This Babbage fight, is this for that Bridgerweight title that he was complaining that Eddie never won the purse bids for?
I do believe so.
Alciesta's promoting this. So this Rosansky's 14-0 with 13 knockouts. He knocked out Artur Szpilka in his last fight, which was nearly 2 years ago. He's inactive in 2 years, this Rosansky.
I think I remember that knockout for some reason. I think he blasted him good, I recall.
There should be a link on it for this one. So if there is, Matty, as long as you've got a VPN, you can get attached to Poland, you'll probably get it. No problem, mate.
Fantastic.
Shout out to the VPNs. We keep having a VPN company wanting to sponsor the pod. We should. I need to hook up with them, Andy, because these VPNs.
I don't think that our crowd would be opposed to us pushing a VPN, because I think it's something that many of them already use. to be a connoisseur, Steve, of the international sports, I think getting a VPN is almost becoming a necessity at this point in time.
Shout out to the VPN. I might stop deleting those emails, actually. Shout out to the VPNs. We'll be in touch if you're listening.
Praise be to the VPNs.
Praise be to the VPNs and Al Heyman. Here, one thing I want to quickly mention, Matty, on this card, Steed Woodall, nicknamed the Stallion, is from Birmingham, and he's going in against Boris Crichton, who you may remember jumped in at very short notice recently against Lyndon Arthur on the Bolton fight card, and he doesn't mess about, this Crichton, because he fought 3 weeks later on this Friday night just gone, actually, in Glasgow at the Glasgow Boxing Academy, Andy, against Wilmer Baron, and now he's out next week again against Steed Woodall. So shout out to Boris Crichton.
I honestly, Steve, looking at this card, these are some big, hard swinging bastards on here. I'm kind of in for the Polish action this week. I might get myself a kielbasa and fucking sit down for the duration here.
Is that a Friday or Saturday?
That's on Saturday, unfortunately.
I'm just looking for see if I can see a link for it yet. I'm just checking my sources just now. So
what is Poland like? About 2 time zones ahead of you guys?
No,
it's about an hour. I think an hour.
It's only an hour,
wouldn't it be?
Hour or two in front of us, possibly.
Well, 2 hours is 2 time zones, so.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
There's no link up for it yet, but I'll keep an eye on it for during the week, and I'll let you know if it comes up.
It's only it's 10 o'clock in Poland, so they're only an hour ahead of us.
Okay, well, there you go. So, Steve, if you don't like the undercard of the Cordina fight, well, you can watch all of this Polish thing and then tune in for the Cordina fight right afterwards. You can plan.
I'm sure Mrs. Wellington would be happy with that usage of time.
Well, I mean, she has to respect the dedication that you give. It's I tell you, it's the time zone Asylum. Nice. Hey, check this out. Captain Casual says, throwing in some of my Aintree winnings to enable a few more coals to be thrown into Liam Wim's fire in the hope they'll power episode 519 to 2 hours at least. Damo. Thanks, Damo.
Shout out to Damo, man.
One of the fantastic nutters.
He's a Patreon subscriber as well. I keep telling these boys, man, to stop putting in super chats. There's no stopping them, Matty. Shout out to Damo throwing in 20 notes.
Yeah, people get a whole lot of value in the Patreon. Some things like the Nutters Prediction League that we can discuss, and some other fantastic fringe benefits that I know that you're investing into upgrading and providing a fantastic service for our people out there, and they absolutely love it. They love it so much they brought down the system.
This is like QVC. That's right, Maddie.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the time and I'm like, well, shit. If we got to keep going for a little while here, you might as well try to, shill the product a little bit. Yeah. Anyways, and we have another good bunch in the boxing Nutters Prediction League. A good percentage of the people paid out. I think some of them were in and out early. No big deal. And I think some people totally forgot of it. It might not even be in the Patreon anymore as well. I think that might happen from time to time. I'm sure there is some turnover at moments, even though it is a fantastic place to be. But yeah, and Danny Young has been getting his money. He also wants to start the Golf Asylum podcast. Which I actually think is a great idea, Steve. Would you want to discuss golf one of these days?
No, that is a terrible idea. I have no interest in golf whatsoever.
Well, that's a shame. That's an absolute shame. But anyways, so check us out on the Patreon. What's that address, Steve?
Patreon.com/boxing asylum.
There you go. And you too can be part of the fun. We've already started with the Prediction League, but we'll have a new one starting up in about 12 weeks' time. So, come on over, whatever. We have a fantastic time in there. Good bunch of lads, as well as Holly, who are still praying for her safe return from the Joyce versus Zhang event. And what you have to wonder, Steve, is Big John Fisher putting anything in his Chinese buffets? I'm starting to have questions after last night.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Big John Fisher at the moment, but I know Rapping Rob Kelly was showing a bit of John Fisher footage earlier. I think the wife is starting to get a bit fed up with the whole Bosch scene now. She's fed up with all the boshing going on. She's going to bosh him soon, I think.
I'll get dressed wherever I fucking want. Fucking look at this fucking Bosch. Fucking man he is. Hey, that's what Joyce needs to do, Matty. That's what he needs to do. He needs to bin off Emilio Salas and get with Big John. 'Cause who was Big John doing there during the week? There he was whining and dining Big Zhilei Zhang, parting that words of wisdom while he's parting his mouth with fucking Chinese balls, all that type of shit. Joyce needs to get with fucking Zhang. Joyce needs to get with Big John. Sorry, just like he did for Big Zhang there last night. All that fucking words of wisdom. So you could do fucking Farhan's going on with Big John there.
You never know. You just go with what works. You know, you got to be willing to move the pieces around a little bit, right, Andy? Because as Steve says, it's all one at the margins. And if anybody knows about margins, it's definitely Big John.
There's no fine margins either, mate, man. He's fucking margarine on his fucking bread and everything. Jesus. I think someone even put in his food order for us during the week there on WhatsApp. Blood, it was about a minute and a half he was on that phone ordering that fucking stuff. Literally just rhyming it off like it was some rap fucking verse he was doing, man. It was incredible.
No other sport brings out these kind of characters, does it? And pushes them from the periphery into dead center. I mean, boxing has that unique ability to find the absolute craziest of characters. I remember years ago there was a character on the Irish boxing scene called Aidan Walsh. He was a bit of a minor celebrity back in the 80s. He had a couple of hit singles out, and he used to take photographs at ringside of the Brian Peters shows in a pair of gold boots, and he had these big, massive sideburns, and he was an absolute character, and it's only boxing could throw up these kind of nutcases.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that people are getting punched in the head?
Probably, but not the right people. The nuttiest people aren't getting punched in the head. That's the thing.
It's a very dark and difficult sport, but god damn it, we love it.
If you have a problem with your Chinese, phone Big fucking John. He'll sort it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to wander through going to the last resource of Box Rec and probably what could be a futile attempt to preserve us waiting for Rob here. And watch, he doesn't even make it at all. God, wouldn't that be a pain in the ass?
Go on the tank undercard. We can go right from the friggin' 4
Hey, hold on. I'm not exactly willing to give up here, Steve. Let's see here. Matamoros, Mexico. You got Armando Joaquin Gonzalez against Giovanni Delgado Morales.
Give it up, Matty.
I know nothing of these people. Let's see here. Then from Usa, Netherlands, you got Kilat Hali against Dragan Dragajevich. That was definitely going to be a banger right there. Let's see here. Then in Johannesburg, number 24 ranked in Box Rec, Steve. I don't know what weight class. Bongani Malangu against Imduduzi Imzamila. Well, that just could be a fantastic war right there. Let's see here.
By the way, that's free on SABC Sports in South Africa, and you'll be able to watch it with a VPN if you connect to any African country.
Thank you, Andy. You're a much better sign man than Steve is.
Yeah, well done, Andy.
Yeah,
I'll post a link for you in the chat there, actually, just because kind of do damn, you know.
I'm getting into these VPNs, though. I'm going to have to get one.
You got one yet, mate? I thought you'd have
one. I used to have, I think it was Tunnel Bear or something back when Wolves were in the championship. And, they had the thing where you can buy the match at 3:00. And I used to get one to pretend I was from Japan so I could watch like Wolves against Burton Albion and stuff. But since we've been in the Premier, I've not needed one.
I was looking, I'm like, Jesus, these guys are all highly rated. But it is a bare knuckle card that's going to be happening from the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. There's actually a bare knuckle event coming up this weekend or the next for me, Steve. I was almost thinking about going. Let's see here.
Is that Matty in Colorado or?
Yeah. Yep. Yes. I think it's in the same place that I saw Alvarado get his ass kicked twice.
All right. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Card in Argentina, Matty, that Augustin Gaito against Luis Guerrero.
Yeah. You got any thoughts on that one, buddy?
Gaito, I think he's an ex-Olympian, possibly. Few youth titles, etc. I think he took a bad L with half his career up to this point because he was highly touted, so just need to see how that kind of fares out. To be fair, I'm just kind of going through the schedule myself actually to see what's kind of kicking about here.
Let's see. Steve Chumash Casino, you can't get better matched than this. Ranked number 784, Cody Kobaski against ranked number 783, Dario Guerrero Menenses. What more do you want from a fight?
Well, where do I even start? A lot more. I'm
Hey!
harder to please than that.
There's a DAZN card on. This is one of those stupid pay-per-view events they have going on with Le'Veon Bell is fighting on there.
The running back.
And yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw something on DAZN next weekend. Actually, someone sent me a post in. It's supposed to be for Belly of the Week, but we might as well throw it in now. So it's the MFG DAZN series numbers 007. So we've got Tennessee Thrush against Paige Keiki in the OVO Arena, Wembley, on Saturday the 13th of May. That is Misfits Boxing, liked by Coogan Cassius. I rightly, you might know he'd like it. So Tennessee Thrush, which is quite the disease I hear, against Paige Keiki.
I thought that was a bird.
Maybe. So they are. You could go to that one. Sponsored by Prime, MF Boxing, and Steak. So yeah, desperate times in the old boxing world. We say that all the time, though, don't we? Boxing's dying, etc. And mugs like us are here every Sunday evening, so it'll take a lot more to kill us off, Andy. Eh?
As Larry Merchant says, nothing can kill, nothing can save boxing, but nothing can kill it at the same time. Something along those lines, anyway. I think.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Andy, here's one for you to track down. Gonna have one coming up in Bielefeld, Germany, with Leon Harth against Luca Diortenze. They're both reasonably high-ranked cruiserweights, I believe.
All right, I've just seen some of the German cards are on YouTube pay-per-view next week and that. But the Brazilian card on Saturday, 22nd of April, I think it's headlined by Mateus Ferreira Augusto against Pedro Guilherme dos Santos for the Brazilian vacant welterweight title. So
that's meaningful. That's meaningful. Yeah.
What else we got? Not seen anything else at the minute.
I hope you're finding as much joy in torturing Steve as I am, Andy.
How?
By going and looking for these fights.
I could do with a piss, to be honest, but I am holding in here. I was looking up Leon Harth. I remember he fought Leon Boone and got knocked out. So that's the kind of level he's at. And he fought Enrico Coling as well. So there is a bit of form. And he lost to Arthur Mann. Oh,
fucking hell.
That's how bad he is.
Who's shown that Davis Garcia card next week in the UK?
Is it DAZN? Do they not have the rights, or is it not in the UK?
Showtime have shown it as well, I believe.
There was some issue about that one. Just tell us in the chat what's going on there, because I thought the deal was Showtime got the American pay-per-view, but then DAZN got the worldwide rights. But I'm not sure if it includes the UK. I don't think it does.
There's a website called payperview.com, and it's on there. And I don't think it's.
Oh, it's on DAZN. There you are. It is on DAZN then. So sorry, yeah, it is on DAZN. Yep, it is on DAZN UK.
This thing here is 68 quid. This website's actually offering this fight for. So
yeah, you can watch it live on DAZN, or there's maybe other methods. If you get yourself into the Nuthouse group, you might be able to find it.
I don't know about that, Steve. I don't know that people would offer such a thing in a place like that.
Wouldn't have thought so, but you never know. It's not my pay-per-view, says my cunt. It's a cracking fight. Should be a pay-per-view, I say. It should be £85 in the UK. That's what I would make it. They're going soft, these boys.
Well, this card, we've held out for Rob as long as we can, Steve. I have pushed as far as I can push, and I can't push no more. We'll start at the bottom here, and I'll just go on up, and we'll see if anything tickles y'all's fancy on the undercard here. We're going to have Vito Milnicki Jr. continuing his comeback after a defeat in his young career against Jose Sanchez Charles. Fedor Sarkisian against Elias Espadas. Elijah Garcia against Kevin Salgado Zambrano. Always a tough customer. The rematch we've all been waiting for. Bektamir Melikuziev, Beck the Bully, trying to avenge his vicious knockout loss to Gabriel Rosado. Then David Morrell taking on late replacement Yamaguchi Falco. And of course, we know what is going to be headlining this, but we'll get to that in a second. Steve, anything that you like on this undercard?
Not much, to be honest, but a couple of wee bits and pieces. I see Jaleel Major Hackett is on the undercard against Jason Phillips. It's not a big fight, but I am looking forward to seeing this kid develop. He's 19 years of age. Apparently, he gave Tank a bit of work in sparring. All the people in the gyms are saying what a good fighter he is. Calvin Ford speaks very highly of him, but he just seems like one of those people to keep an eye on. I remember the same people were bigging up Frank Martin before he really hit the heights, so definitely keep an eye on Jaleel Major Hackett. That's a name that you can definitely remember. Melnicki Jr., I don't really know how much he's going to improve. He's only 20 years of age. He obviously suffered that loss against James Martin. He's fought his way back since, fought on Christmas Day. This is a bit of a step up of sorts. Him and Joey Spencer in the kind of same category. Whenever they stepped up, we wondered who would get picked off first, and it happened to be Melnicki. But they've brought him back, the PBC. They do tend to look after people, even if they lose, if they offer a bit of value. Shakashin, I remember him fighting Nathaniel Gallimore on one of the Showtime cards. Very exciting kind of fighter. Expecting a decent fight against Elias Espadas. I think he's some relation of Guti Espadas, maybe. So he's had a few losses. So that's expected for Shakashin to win. Also, we spoke about Joey Spencer earlier. He lost to Kevin Salgado Zambrano, who's been brought back as an opponent again for Elijah Garcia. I'm liking the turnaround on him. You might remember about a month ago he fought Amilcar Vidal Jr. A bit of an upset, really. Stopped Vidal on the Showtime card there. Looked really impressive.
Fun little
really
fight
well
in that too. There, fun little fight.
Absolutely, 19 years of age. Spoke very well. That he's a bit of a puncher. They're getting him straight back out again. Really impressed by that. Melakuziev against Rosado doesn't really hold much interest for me. They're doing this to basically get Melakuziev to do what he should have done the first time before he got caught with a punch from the gods, and get rid of Rosado, which I think he will do, either on points because it's a 10-round and maybe a late stoppage, but Melakuziev will right that wrong now and get rid of Rosado. And then David Morrell was supposed to be fighting... it was some African guy, was it?
Sena
Agbeko, but apparently now he's out and he's fighting this Brazilian Yamaguchi Falcao. He's a 35-year-old southpaw. He can't punch a dime. He actually beat a guy called... I was looking this up earlier. Who did he beat? A fella on points. Alex Turan. That's what I actually watched that fight. Turan's lost 11 times and he's been knocked out 10 times. The only time he went the distance was against Falcao. So he's clearly vulnerable, and that indicates to me Falcao's not a puncher. He won't have anything to keep Morrell off him. I'll be surprised if that fight goes 2 or 3 rounds, Matty.
Yeah, no, hopefully that one will move a little bit quicker because my day could be very, very long with the undercard as described there. Now, this is all just appetizer for what is a very tasty main event, 136-pound catchweight fight. Anyways, with Ryan Garcia taking on Gervonta Tank Davis in what is a real battle of young, charismatic, hard-punching fighters with a heck of a lot of potential in them. And Steve, I'll give him credit here. Is you don't oftentimes see fighters that are this young taking on each other, kind of still technically when they're maybe on the come up and building their star. You know, this is something that might be years down the road, but damn it, they're doing it despite all the different weird stipulations going into this fight. And this one is the first of a series of fights that we're going to have over the coming weekends that are going to be absolutely exceptional for the boxing fans.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it's fantastic. I think it's not before time. Garcia, Davis, stepped up, 28 years of age, 28-0 now. Massive puncher, as is Garcia, both very fast. Garcia's probably a little bit quicker. Davis probably hits a little bit harder. As I've said before, Davis is a very underrated boxer. He's not just a one-punch knockout merchant. He's skilled, he's talented. He showed against Isaac Cruz. He can slow the pace down. Garcia showed before that if he has to go running after people against Emmanuel Tago, he's maybe not as composed, can't get the left hook off as quickly. So it's in Gervonta Davis's interest, to slow the pace right down, step off, and make Garcia come to him. There are a lot of different dynamics, very interesting dynamics to this fight, not least the two fighters themselves. They both had problems outside of the ring. Garcia obviously has been away through mental health breaks, people casting aspersions on what he's been up to. He's had personal issues as well. Davis, very much been slapping the missus around. He's knocked over the pregnant woman as well. So he's a bit of an odious character, more so than Garcia, I would say. They both bring very unique fan bases. Garcia sort of taps into that Oscar De La Hoya teenage girl fan club, really, fan base, social media and all that. Whereas Davis is the kind of black hip hop, whatever dynamic you want to call it. He packs out crowds and he brings people in as well. So they're both ticket sellers. They're both money men. In the corners as well, Calvin Ford. I think he was a former drug dealer who's in prison. He's turned his life around up against Joe Goosen. We all know about Joe's background in the sport as a trainer and a commentator and his family. So you got the sort of strategist there working things out. I think Calvin Ford's an underrated strategist. Me and Rob spoke last week about Davis keeping his head. He can get distracted sometimes, but I think in this fight, he's going to be 100% on the ball. One other dynamic as well I'll mention just quickly before I shut the hell up is De La Hoya in Garcia's corner. How much he had to do with this fight, I'm not so sure. He's a bit of a liability these days. The whole Golden Boy setup. He's got Bernard Hopkins maybe giving Garcia a bit more sound advice. And then you've got the whole Floyd dynamic as well. Has Floyd and Gervonta Davis split up, or is it just
I think Floyd told him that he couldn't train at the Mayweather gym. I think that's a very interesting point.
I wonder if they're still in contact though. I know Elena Delaby's still hanging around there. I wonder how much the split. I think Davis will be I don't know, he'd probably be better off for not having Floyd poking around in the corner, but he's done his business now and he's brought more eyeballs to him. But anyway, as for the fight itself, I think it's going to be fast. I think it's going to be explosive once it gets going. I think for the first 2 or 3 rounds, it could be quite cagey, quite pensive. They're both going to be very dubious and wary of each other's power and each other's speed and ability to land shots. But ultimately, I'm a Tank fanboy. I think he will catch up with Garcia, and it might be quite early as well. But that I don't want that to sound as detrimental as it is. I don't think Garcia is a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination. And if Davis knocked him out in 5 or 6 rounds, which I think he might do, that doesn't mean that Garcia is shit, because he's absolutely not. He's a proud guy. He's a tough guy. And I think he's tougher than people give it credit for. And he will stand at times with Davis. And I think that'll be his downfall. Once Davis catches hold of you, he doesn't let you off the hook. And I think Garcia's chin's going to be there for all to see. And I think around the 6th or 7th round, he could just get rid of him. Although for the second little picker, you just never know. It could be a real tentative affair that goes the 12-round distance. And we're sort of kind of saying, oh, I thought Davis won. Or I thought Garcia won. If it doesn't explode, but I think that'll be very unlikely. And I imagine someone's going to get knocked out.
Man, wouldn't that be a shame for this fight to have such build-up and hype to actually happen and then be a 12-round dud?
Yeah, and a contentious one. You just, at the end, I just have that feeling it could be one of them.
Let it be a draw and just piss everybody off.
Yeah.
Just a boring 12-round contentious draw. That sounds just like boxing to me. But making it just in time for the call. Rob, I dragged this out as long as I could because I knew you wanted to talk about this fight. Ryan Garcia against Tank Davis. Now, you have had some of the same reservations I have about just biting full-fledged on a Tank Davis victory here. Why don't you go more in depth into what your hesitations are?
You just fucking broke up, bastard. Hold on, you can hear me okay here, though?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just fine. I can hear you.
Yeah. I think it's a tough one for me to call, really. I obviously the smart money's on Tank, knockout power. He has by far the better resume. I mean, Garcia's barely fought over fucking 5 years, really. Like, I think the max he's fought is 3 times a year, and that was like fucking 4 years ago when he was renegotiating his Golden Boy contract. So inactivity might play a factor. Tank is more active. Tank's resume is good to a point, I think, but he's probably been a little bit developed. I'd say that he's been developed in the right stable before facing any. So neither of these guys have faced the top guys at 135. I think that has to be fucking stated for firsthand on their rise up and winning their world titles. Or I guess he hasn't won a world title yet, but they're on their rise to notoriety, I guess, and pay-per-view status. So it's a massive fight for the sport, but I just don't know how it plays out yet. Like I said, I think smart money's on Tank knockout, but I from the minute that Garcia was calling Tank out, I had a sneaky feeling for him with the size and the left hook. Now, I could be completely buying into the Ryan Garcia hype train, but I see him causing Tank problems similar to the way Raleigh did, but he hits a lot harder than Raleigh, and he's probably a better fighter. Now, I know Tank is just having a look at Raleigh. Cruz was able to find him too. He was able to hit him. Davis has showed his beard against smaller guys, but Garcia is very fucking big. He's a legit, I think, 140 frame. And I know he fought Barrios up at 140, but he offered very little in terms of offense, in terms of explosive power. It's going to be a different proposition. So I fucking just do not know which way this played out. I'm out of the Nutters League, by the way, for the predictions. I fucking forgot to fill in the fucking form on week 2. So I'm like Mayweather after he fought Marquez, and I'm going to retire for a year and come back and knock out all
Don't
boxers because they're all
don't
shit
give up.
houses.
Don't give up.
Well, I'm out of it now, though, because I've missed 2 predictions. Well, I would have got them both wrong anyway. I suppose everybody would have got those wrong last night. The Zhilei Zhang one. So fucking
everybody did. The leader has 9 points right now, Rob.
yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll come back into it. I think I fucked up the first week as well. Anyways, aside from the fuck the Nutters, fucking get a life, everybody in the fucking Nutters prediction league. But I just thought I can't confidently call which way this fight goes either way. Now again, optics might be everything here. We might be looking at this next Sunday and Tank evaporates him in 4 rounds and Garcia. But I just think I don't think he's coming to lie down. I think he's supremely confident. I think he has in his head, him and Goosen have devised a plan in a way that they think they can beat Tank. And I think Tank will show some boxing in this too. I think there'll be moments where I think he'd respect Garcia. I don't think he'd just go in flagrantly. He might show a little bit more head movement. It might be boxing, but could be a cagey one. It could be a cagey one up until round 8. I think I'd have I just don't know till I see them in the ring. Honestly, I can't. I imagine with the Gervonta Tank Davis knockout, but I would not be surprised if Garcia fucking pull something out of his wazoo for this one. Something spooky going on.
Something spooky going on, says Rappin' Rod Kelly. Andy, I saw a video earlier today with Raleigh Romero, who has fought Tank Davis, obviously.
I didn't listen much about that cunt's going to say.
And he's sparred Ryan Garcia, and he says that Ryan Garcia punches harder than Tank. Maybe he's just being an ass because he's ashamed about his knockout loss to Tank. Yeah. But Raleigh says, yeah, I know. But Raleigh says Ryan Garcia punches harder than Tank. I mean, and I know you don't weigh that very much, but what are your thoughts on this fight? Would you be shocked if it goes 12?
Well, I was actually listening to what Steve was saying there, and I'm kind of like thinking along the lines of, yeah, it's going to be a stoppage, but then he drops a wee caveat that it could also be a 12-round dud. Hopefully, no, mate. It's a wee bit like the Oscar Trinidad fight, if that were the case. You know, you've got 2 young guys here who are relatively close to the physical primes, basically. So it's huge respect to to us as fans and to the sport in general that they're willing to put on, which is probably a generational clash this fight. To be fair, the winner of this fight. I mean, Tank's got a massive following. He's filling out arenas. He's doing good numbers at pay-per-view. I understand. Ryan Garcia has got, I don't know how many followers on social media and that, but he's got millions of followers. He's got a name, he's got a following, he's got a brand, all that type of stuff and that. So, the winner of this fight is going to be the face of boxing, for the next 10 years possibly. Both got KO power, big followings as I mentioned. I just think when it comes down to it, possibly I think it's going to come down to who can take the best shots. And I think it will be down to, I think Garcia is okay, he's quick. I've yet really to see him to be properly tested. I know he got dropped off Luke Campbell and he came back fantastically well. But Luke Campbell, I've never really probably appreciated as a fighter as such. And I don't think he really had the dog in him. I think Davis is completely different. He's got that Tyson-esque ability to kind of intimidate. He is one to, apparently going into this fight, he's going to be respecting Garcia. He's going to be cautious. So I'd imagine it'll be quite a tentative opening 2-3 rounds. He'll definitely be watching it for that left hook, which is the money punch of Garcia's. And I don't know if Raleigh's really trolling as such. But at the end of the day, when you're watching some of the videos, training videos, you can tell that Garcia's left hook has got very good power behind it. I just think the way Davis just put his shots are put together and that as well, is he can just chip away at you, and in the end he can just turn your lights out, drop you dead on the spot, basically like he did to Leo Santa Cruz. And obviously with Garcia sometimes leaving his chin up in the air and that, I think that could also be to his detriment. So all kind of really hinges on actually who's willing to take the chances, i.e. land the big power shots, who can be defensively responsible against those power shots, and who can hold up to it. I think Garcia's got a wee bit of fragility compared to Tank, who I think maybe kind of soft to the body possibly. So there's that to it as well. Can Garcia land the left hooks upstairs and down? Intrigue. This is what we want, but at the same time, as I think it all says the same. When I'm with I'm speaking to seems to think that Tank's going to win by stoppage. So yeah, I'm going to go along with that. I'll say Tank does it inside. I want to say inside 9 rounds.
Interesting, because the over/under is 7.5 rounds, Andy. So interesting that you say that. That's right on the number they're kind of putting it. Like I've said before, I think a lot of this is going to come down to ring IQ. That's why I'm interesting. It's like both of these guys have power. The question is which one of them is going to be able to create the opening to land that power. And Steve, the scorecards were very close with Isaac Cruz, but I wouldn't want to look at that fight for kind of why I would worry for Davis a little bit in this one, because Cruz just such different dimensions than Ryan Garcia, right? I would look towards the first half, 6-7 rounds of the fight against Mario Barrios before Tank was able to land that knockdown in the 8th round. That was a very close fight. And Barrios, it was Barrios won 4 of the first 7 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards.
Barrios was twice the size of him, though. And I mean, I thought that once his power caught up with him, he would beat the shit out of him. He does lose rounds. He lost rounds against Rolly. I thought he was losing rounds against Hector Luis Garcia, although the judges didn't seem to think so. The Cruz, like a Maidana character, wasn't he? He came in place of Rolly at short notice. Davis hurt his hand, etc. I think he just caught him by surprise. And he was cleverer than you thought as well, Cruz. He's not just a one-dimensional slugger. He showed little nuances, like throwing the right hand to the head 2 or 3 times. And then when Davis was expecting it a 4th time, he went down to the body. You know, he's no mug, and he was just overwhelming him. And he had no respect for Davis's power, although that could have been to do with a hand injury, although you can't use that as an excuse. At the end of the day, he couldn't keep him off him. But he did show dimensions, Davis, and boxing skills. I would say like the Gamboa fight was more worrying to me because he kind of went through the motions against Gamboa until the last round when he got rid of him. That was a bit of a damp squib, but he's going to have to be turned on, isn't he, against Garcia. Santa Cruz as well, I think ruffled him up for a couple of rounds, but you're talking good quality, experienced fighters.
Santa Cruz is much smaller, though. So Mario Barrios, 6 feet tall, 71-inch reach. Ryan Garcia, 5'10", 70-inch reach. You got to remember the way Barrios was working that jab earlier. That was the struggle for Tank. Garcia, especially with the way Tank has been fighting more on the back foot lately, Steve, I think that fight getting into Tank's range depends more on Garcia reaching than it does in Tank walking him down.
It was a struggle for Tank, but also the fights are fought over 12 rounds too. And I get what you're saying, but I know people made that point with Rolly. Oh, he was losing rounds against Rolly Romero, but then he like banged him out in the 5th round. He's going to lose rounds. That's the way he does, isn't it? I mean, you can dress it up as much as you want. He's lazy, he's lethargic, he's downloading the data, he's biding his time, he's watching the moves, blah, blah, blah.
Downloading the data.
I do think he's a thinking fighter. He looks for patterns, doesn't he? Like,
where are you after getting that out of Steve? You know, he's not a deep thinker, obviously. Where are you getting that from?
Oh yeah, he's not a deep thinker. Well, I mean, out the ring, like I said before, he's thick as a dungeon door, but inside the ring, he is a good thinker. I reckon. Against Santa Cruz, he was watching his moves, looking at the way he was moving off to the certain sides, and then he unleashed an uppercut from hell to get rid of him. He watches the way you're going, your footwork, your patterns, what you're doing with your hands. I honestly do think he's a thinking fighter. And against Barrios, he knew that he was going to be the much smaller man, but they'd obviously psyched him out before. They saw what Akhmedov was able to do against Barrios, and that was what gave me confidence that they took that fight for a reason, because it would look impressive against a bigger guy from a bigger weight, winning another phony world title. And they knew that Barrios was susceptible and wasn't that good. So Tank punches like a couple of weight divisions higher, so they knew they were going to get to him. Once he started touching that body and working out Barrios' moves, he just beat the shit out of him. And that's what I think. He's just a thinking fighter. Once he gets into range, and everyone says, oh, he's so small, but he has those big long arms and explosive ability to catch you. And if he hits you flush, then you're going to go. So I would be confident that he'll catch up with Garcia at some point.
I thought he was a bitch with T-Rex arms.
Oh, well, maybe he is, yeah.
You know, some people, Rob, will point to the potential of this just coming down to who has more dog in him, and they'll point to Gervonta Davis being Baltimore. Very tough town.
We don't.
Well, hold on here. But Ryan Garcia, Rob, is from Victorville, California. scene of the now infamous Bob Sheridan getting chased down by motorcycles while in his Corvette. This is not a place to fuck around, and that's Ryan Garcia's hometown.
Well, I'm sure somebody got that, but I.
You don't remember that one?
No, I can't remember what happened yesterday, dude.
Oh.
Fucking my memory's hazy at the best of times. I think I don't know. This you're making a good point, because I can't remember a fight in recent memory where I'm just as intrigued about what both fighters are going to be like if they get hit by the other one. You get me? So like Garcia has real power, Davis has real power. Like what's it going to look like if Garcia lands a couple of those left hooks on Tank early? Like what way is he going to react, and what happens if Garcia can stand up to Tank's power? What happens then? Like what way does the fight play out then? Because a lot of times Garcia or Tank relies on figuring a guy out until he actually catches him. What if he figures him out, drops rounds, and then when he does catch him, it doesn't have the effect that you thought it would? Like, so there's loads of little possibilities and little ways that the fight could go, but it's a very, very exciting contest, and it's good for the sport that these two are the ones that are putting us. So I hope the fight really delivers. Steve is making me nervous now saying it might be a dud, but I hope it really, really delivers, because it's going to do massive numbers. Like, you know, we mentioned years ago on the podcast, he is in a different stratosphere on social media. Like, and like social media means nothing to us because we're out lads. Like, but you know, like he's making these videos with like Dixie DeMilo and all these, like fucking, he's up in all territory in terms of numbers that he draws. So
You're right.
I'm going to be really interested to see what the gate is.
The first guy really since De La Hoya to get that like kind of teenage girl audience, right, Rob? It's a really uncommon boxing
for boxing.
audience.
Like, I suppose like the Tommy Fury over here, like with the Love Island thing with the young ones and all, they all love Tommy Fury. Like, but it's like that by a million over in the States. Oscar's there, Leonard is there, like fucking tanking him, unbeaten records, big punches, fucking really good production on the Showtime All Access, getting everybody bought into it. So I really hope it delivers, and I'm happy that it's these two that have come together to make the fight and make a big fucking fight for the outsiders as well. Outside the usual fucking names, like, you know, we get fed up with a fucking AJ Canelo and Fury holding up the fucking boxing world with their fucking and with their bullshit. Like, these two got together, they fucking talk shit at each other, but now they're coming together to make the fight. So let's hope it delivers. I honest to God, I don't care who wins as long as it's a really good fight, because I think it's going to draw a lot of people into boxing. Like,
Yeah, and it's so important that the fight delivers. I hope that they taken the how important this moment could be for not just for them, but for the sport of boxing, and how much it needs it right now. You know, in much the way that Taylor and Serrano gave it all when it mattered most for their sport. Hopefully, the guys do it on their end here.
Any confirmation about UK TV for this one yet? No. Did anybody say?
Yeah, DAZN. DAZN.
Is it definitely DAZN in the UK?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh well, I'll just need to download it in the morning then.
DAZN or DAZN pay-per-view?
No, it's on normal DAZN. We've clarified this.
I think that's only fair. I think that's only fair. I mean, given like something's coming on at like 6 o'clock in the morning for you or some shit like that, like to ask people to pay for something, it's like that's fucking ridiculous.
People wouldn't pay for it. That doesn't move the needle in the UK. No one gives a fuck about Gervonta Davis or Ryan Garcia. No one will pay for that at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No one gives a fuck about Gervonta Davis in the UK. Okay.
No, not
It's
that
like the
I'm aware
hardcore
of.
boxing fan.
Well, apart from the hardcores who maybe saw him fight Liam Walsh, but not your man next door, like, or your woman next door, or your they, them next door, whoever else. No, they don't give a shit about the pair of them.
Way to be inclusive, Steve. Well done.
I might need to get a line of some of these DAZN.
Sam Smith don't give a fuck about Gervonta Davis.
Ah, man. So this is going to be a good card. And Rob, make sure that you get your picks in this week. It's going to be this fight and Cordina against Rakhimov. And remember, the season goes all the way through June. You have plenty of time, even if you're behind. Plenty of time. So a couple of good fights this weekend.
It's my philosophy exactly, Matty.
to get them from behind?
No, you have plenty of time. No, forget it, man. It's fucking shit when you have to explain the joke. Move on, come on.
But yeah, so I even though the undercards might be a little weak, I like the main events coming up this weekend, and I actually think that card from Poland might definitely entertain. Andy, you're unmuted. Any final thoughts you had there? Apparently not.
So again, mate, sorry, I was watching something.
You're unmuted, so I thought you had some final thoughts.
No, sorry, mate, I didn't know I was unmuted. Sorry, mate. On you go.
You're fine. Hey, so all right. So before we get into the value of the week, Rob, do you want to touch on Joe Joyce before we move forward?
Probably not.
He doesn't care about Joe Joyce.
I think he's been touched on enough for the fucking weekend, thankfully. Look, I'd made a good point when he was being interviewed afterwards, and that was a kind of a high reward, or high risk, low reward fight for Joe Joyce, because even if he beats up Zhilei Zhang, he kind of still had his mandatory position. So I don't really know what it's kind of matchmaking that's backfired. He looked smaller, he looked slow. He looked like he couldn't fight against the southpaw. Like, his foot positioning was good. And I suppose, fucking, I was one of the guys, as well as all of us on the pod, saying, like, who fucking beats Joe Joyce? Because when you hit him, nothing happens. But I suppose we weren't factoring in facial damage into that. Like, he's shown his chin, but what good is it if you're not going to move your head, like, and you're getting clocked? Like, he was getting hit with clean shots. He was honest in the post-fight interview, if not exciting. But he said, like, I couldn't get away from the left hand. So he clearly had real problems fighting southpaw. So looking at that, when you think the way Fury switches to southpaw and that, like, you think maybe you have no fucking trouble with him whatsoever. Like, so I don't know. That's why heavyweight boxing is what it is. It turns up these things. Zhang was able to kind of have more success from the outside and just land the lead all night. Like, and then when you see the eye starting to get like that, you're fearful. I thought Joyce kind of dug in a little bit in the third round, but he just couldn't get. He was trying to be more active and pick up the pace in that, like, and just get into his usual rhythm, but he just couldn't. Zhang wasn't letting him have that rhythm. Like, he wasn't letting him have the moment. He saw the opportunity and he just fucking kept banging him in the eye. Like, so, Big China in little trouble, as I said in the fucking group chat. Like.
Well done. Shout out to Rob.
Got
for
that
that
one, Rob.
I got that one. That was brilliant. Well done.
Big Zhilei style. So chat shit, you get Zhang. That's it, really. I'm all out of cliches now, but well done, Zhilei Zhang, man. He came to the fucking. I think John Fisher was fucking really the curse in all this. Like, he took Big Zhilei out for a Chinese, and then he goes and beats his mate up. Like, so as a thank you. So Bosch, take that. I'm sure Joyce will come again. He seems like a game guy. Is that rematch a good idea? I don't know. He did look on the basis of last night. It looks like he can't fucking figure out Zhilei Zhang. Which is not.
I was going to say, Rob, will he come again? Do you think? I don't know, man. I'm kind of worried about him now.
I think he'll have another fight. Like, I think. Well, I don't say, like, he could come back and rematch Dubois or something, or that way. Like, he'll be around again. I think he'll be in fights. He'll be in BT events. Will he? Will he challenge for fucking world honors? I think these three are up to something out there by the looks of things. Like, they plan on holding the heavyweight division ransom for a couple of, for a while at least. Like, and he doesn't seem to be in the plan, so he'll be back out with another fight and that. Like, good guy. Like, it's kind of pity for me he didn't get his pop at a world title, like, because it would have been interesting. But Zhilei Zhang versus Usyk to fucking usher in the new world order and the Chinese totalitarian one world government. Big Zhilei is the champion.
Yeah, man. War Zhilei, I say.
Oh, a final bit of good news before we move forward to the value of the week. Holly is fine. She posted in the Nutters Messenger group, so apparently she made it safe from the event. Good. All of our concerns were for nothing.
Bob, you missed it. Holly hooked up with. Holly met up with the guard last night and got a selfie with him. So we were worried about her.
Who the fuck is Holly?
She's in the Nutters group.
Get a life, Holly.
She bumped into the guard at the show and got a photo, and we hadn't seen her since.
You would have seen this photo if you were in the Nutters Messenger group.
Oh, I'm all right. Tell me all about it. It's fine.
They don't. He doesn't even know what he's missing, Steve. We discuss food and fine wine and sport and many things in the Nutters group. They are.
If I could get out of my family group chats, I'd be out of them. Right, put it that way. So fucking.
You're in group chats with your family. Who would do that?
Yeah, that seems to be a thing. I've heard of a few people doing that.
That sounds awful.
I know it does, doesn't it?
Really, it does. Speaking of awful,
I would love to have a family chat and then add Ricky Gravel into it.
That'd be one way to get me out of the family chat, actually.
The banter.
Ricky sent us your number.
He's just like, yeah, this is your new brother, Ricky. I adopted him this week. Dad, he's the same age as you. No fucks given. Anyways, yeah. So with that depravity, I think it's only right to hand it over to you, Steve, for the value of the week.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthew. I promised this one last week, actually leading us into the value of the week for episode 519. It was Terry Woodfine, who's hanging around in the chat tonight. Shout out to Terry, who sent this in from the rugby. Big John boshing it up at I think it was England rugby last weekend or the weekend before, actually now. And he's having a great time, is John. Let's have a look.
Your sensation, your rise to fame. Are you surprised by what's going on right now, mate?
Yeah, very. I'm just a normal bloke. Obviously, my son Johnny's professional heavyweight boxer, so I've got some traction off the back of him, but people just seem to like me eating Chinese, so I don't know why.
How has this come about? Have you always been a Chinese man, or is it any kind of takeaway?
Always been Chinese, and I didn't know my middle son Henry. He used to film me eating without me knowing. And I had someone say to me once, "Can I have your photo?" I said, "What for? Is it because of Johnny?" And they went, "No, you're on TikTok." I didn't even know I was on TikTok.
I tell you what, just one final time. Come on, we'd love to see it. We'd love to hear it. One more bosh for us. Come on.
Bosh! Come on, England, we're going to do it. We're going to get the win.
I enjoyed how you prolonged that as well. That was a good one.
I'll try to.
Rob is a bit cut his wrist.
The funniest line in all that is,
have
you always been
a
a
Chinese man? No. Used to be proper from England, mate. We're fucking China now. He's fucking. Tell you what, right? Fucking seen a video. I said it there last week. Big John's missus sick of this shit. Like he put up a video there. We're on holidays. We're having a Chinese. Say whatever his wife's name is. He was like, "Say bosh," and she's like, "Bosh." He's like, "Give us a proper bosh." She's like, "Bosh." Fuck off, man. Get this fucking camera.
Oh, Charlotte, yeah, man. Divorce papers incoming.
It's coming, man. It's coming. Big John, and then he's going to be fucking like doing one of those fucking narration videos, isn't he, about the divorce? I thought we was in love for life, but it's all over. Big John. It was then Big John realised that he'd fucking said bosh too many times when his missus packed the fucking bags and left. Fucking big nice guy.
He does seem a nice guy. Yeah, I mean get in shape, just because you're a nice guy and you can live longer.
John, love a bit of Big John. Yep, thanks for Rob for keeping us up to date with that one.
More salads, less Chinese.
He's become a regular devotee to the value of the week, Andy. Much like your friend here, AB, wouldn't cut unfortunately in the video, but we've got the photograph, so you can maybe explain to the dear listeners what AB was up to here.
So he had to name his kids challenge. Now for us, Steve, us guys who know better, to have no more than at least 2, maybe in your case 3 kids, or the point of ejaculation or draw, no AB, man. He's got 10 kids, so he was asked to name all his kids, all 10 of them. He took it. I think he took it. Was it the oldest first? I'm sure he took the oldest ones first. And he started to struggle once he got down to about the last 3, I think it was. But he finally got there. So fair play to AB. He knows all his kids' names. One's even called Adriana, I believe in that as well, and one's called Adrian Jr. So yeah,
he's not looking great, is he, AB? Down in the bottom right there, it doesn't do him justice even.
Mate, I told you how this was going to go. He sucked it, fucked it, looking for a hand. That's what
he's fucked out anyway. Like. He's fucked out with all them kids.
That one on the left, I swear to God, that one picture of him on the left, I swear that's when he's back in his 130 days.
Well, let me just say, also in the don't be an idiot phase here, don't put your kids' names out on fucking social media and shit like that. It's not only a danger to them, it's a danger to your passwords and shit like that, you fucking morons. It's a phishing scam.
He sounded like, that DMX challenge for the What These Bitches Want songs, where it's like, there was Brenda, Leticia, Linda, Felicia, Dawn, Inez, Alicia.
That's a great song.
Johnny says he looks like the good doctor on the right.
Rob, I'm sure you've tried doing that version of that song yourself, but you can only rhyme Sarah with Sarah so many times.
Listen. I'm not going to die in ignorance. Put it that way.
AB all bareback, says Sunny D. Good stuff there from AB. Shout out to David Palmer. He says Bosch was listening to some punches from the past earlier. Great content. Cheers, lads. Bosch. Thank you to you, David, for the $4.99. He's in the Patreon.
He's a fertile
as well.
man, actually, Adrian brother, isn't he? Like,
you say he's a fertile man?
Oh, he's fertile.
He's very fertile. He was apparently that. Remember, he released that lady released the sex tape of him in the limo. When they opened the limo door, just a baby just walked out of it.
He's loving life, Rob.
He sure is. Signed to Don King. What could go wrong, man? It's all up from here.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, moving on. Kaiser Koba, who was hanging around in the chat earlier, has nominated this fella, Dick Wad, in the YouTube comments underneath Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward. 1, awesome round 9. Dick Wad says, the announcer is retarded. Gatti was constantly dropping his right elbow in order to protect against another body shot the whole time. Ward knew this, so the head is the only option. And why didn't Lampley tell that guy to shut up about the body? People who comment on boxing matches should know something about boxing to get these jobs. That guy embarrassed himself so bad. It was Emmanuel Stewart he was talking about.
He's on the way up, isn't he? Fucking hell.
Hey, well,
Fucking stupid bastard.
I have said this before, and I'll say it again. That is the most overrated trilogy in history.
The first fight was the only one that was really good.
And
it was poorly scored. And it was poorly scored at that.
Are you Dick Wad, Andy? Is that a pseudonym?
I'm no Dick Wad, mate. Might be young and full of cum, but I ain't no Dick Wad, man.
At least not in this context.
Yeah, he's on the wind-up, that guy, isn't he? Joe Joyce, everyone has a plan, so they punch me in the face and nothing happens. Well, that one didn't age too well.
And then the eye explodes. The referee calls the fight.
I'm a pirate.
So, Joe Joyce, why didn't you move your head? Well, I was. It was just Zhang was moving it for me with those left hands.
Oh, poor old Joe. Tony Bellew. This has been dragged up from 15th of December 2012. We always remember.
That in, by the way?
I think it's
Spanish.
But anyway, he's quoting to Lennox Lewis. He says, believe me when I say David Price is every bit as good an athlete as both the Klitschko's. When the time is right, he'll be number one.
Remember all the years ago when he said David Price is the heir to the Klitschko throne, mates?
He believed in his mate anyway.
He did.
Fuck's sake.
Number one at what?
I don't know. Bit of a rogue apostrophe in Klitschko's there, Matty, as well.
Remember being on a scout on a fucking stag night in Liverpool, and a scout's taxi driver was telling me about saying, he's got fucking skinny ankles. Can't take a punch, he's got fucking skinny ankles.
Oh dear.
Ankles made of glass.
Peter Fury tweeting out, he's lost a bit of weight as Peter, but he's getting stuck in there. Lesser spotted in the corners, but he said, let's look in the mirror. I take my neighbour's kid from next door, take him in a room and dress him in a pink G-string and do all these vile gestures. What would this be classed as? Enough said.
What's
oh,
dear.
I wanna hear Martin McCauley's opinion on this. I think he's going in against wokeism a lot lately, isn't he, Peter Fury? He's not having this fucking.
Oh, is that what he's at?
Seen a lot, yeah. He's seen a lot in the algorithms about these. Oh, let's not fucking go. You know what I'm talking about. He's not happy. Anyway.
Peter, all I can say is keep your eye on the neighborhood and see what happens. You'll find out exactly what it's classified as.
He doesn't give a shit about Sam Smith either, I think. Peter Fury.
Oh, where do you even start with that one? Josie for J-O, THB, THM, DMIN, THD. He was going in on Joe Kennedy. I haven't seen Joe Kennedy in the chat tonight. I'm not sure what crime he committed, Andy, but he said, Joe Kennedy, what is the meaning of your abbreviation? Be careful, okay?
Be safe. Be safe, Joe Kennedy.
Joe Kennedy going to be job.
You got to let the hands go.
Mr. Wellington.
Mr.
You
Wellington.
know.
Gonna bust the okra fury on your ass.
I love a message from the doc. Good morning to you. Carl Froch has been getting
like
it.
Fucking death rate, man. Good morning to you, motherfucker.
That's what he does. He'll slide into my WhatsApp and he goes, good morning to you.
You're like, what the fuck? Block.
Darren Till
Oh.
Going in on Carl Froch is a long-nosed twat. Rocky Fielding is a big lanky shithouse. Tommy Fury is a fat fucking juice head. And Joe Joyce is a fat miserable cunt. All can get it. Let's go, trolls. Fucking shithouses.
I tagged every single one of them into that tweet last night, by the way. Just to see if I get a reaction.
Did you?
Off a few guys, one of the guys I really wanted to get the reaction from, so yeah. Know who I'd hope for at least.
Poor Rocky Fielding, man. What's he getting?
He's fucking retired after getting that shit beat out of him against. Who was it he fought?
Oh, yes. Oh, God, who was he?
Was it Dan Aziz, was it? Dan Aziz?
Yes, Dan Aziz, yeah.
Dan Aziz, aye.
20 pounds around. He's living in Dubai, man. It's expensive to get his ass out here. Cut the guy
Uncle Dan's pal.
How miserable do you have to be to think that Joe Joyce is miserable, says Johnny Scott Nelson. Exactly, absolutely true. I have another video for you. This is the guard. I haven't really vetted this one, so who knows what the guard's up to. I guess we're all going to find out together all in one go.
Yeah, that's Jam. Yeah. See that? Just see that? You see that? The juggernaut. They're all wearing the uniform. They're all wearing the uniform. Yeah.
Oh, there's the guard.
Yeah, we bit handsy on there by I'll be kind of and implied is cementing that in the way he's kind of like rubbing my back there and patting me in the back there, like, you know, well done, mate.
Yeah, very powerful shoulders.
Hands off, mate. Do you take a shower before? Do you take a shower before you put your uniform on?
He was talking in Chinese in one of the videos. I don't think I've cut that one.
Konnichiwa. That's Japanese, sorry.
Ni hao.
Ni hao, that's what they say. Aye, good morning.
I'm sure there was one someone sent to me. Let me see if I can get it uploaded here. Here we are. Here's the guard in action. Let's see what he's up to here.
我们会说一点点啊啊
He's fucking bonkers, isn't he?
What a guy.
That's what I love listening to Japanese shows and that when they're losing their shit, when shit's going on in the ring and that.
Oh, they love it, them Japanese commentators, don't they? Absolutely.
Chaos.
I feel like I should fucking dub over that GAD video with, you killed my brother. Prepare to die.
I just watched Enter the Dragon again last night. Let me tell you,
quality.
Some things are classic and they never die. Yeah.
Straight out of a comic book, Maddie.
Bullshit, Mr. Handman. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all good fun with the gad there and the skylight, and poor Holly's chained down in the bottom of that building.
Hopefully he ends up on Hans Island.
Maybe. Can you imagine him?
He'd
be the last man standing, wouldn't he? Anyway, let's move on. Poor Gad. And Michael McAway, belly of the week again for Eddie, constantly doubling down on the Ben farce, constantly pushing the victim narrative and now aggressively chasing people whose crime is only to want to know the truth about the samples. Another nail in his flaming reputation. I saw Terry Dooley, Andy, putting something up on Twitter. You guys were sharing it about this, and I've said it myself as well. It's the same old thing in British boxing. As soon as anyone gets caught or is about to get caught, the first instinct is to circle the wagon and try and get them off.
No, me, Gov. Wasn't it me? Yeah. You know, and just it's something that wasn't, you know, I was given something I didn't know what I was taking, all this shit. As I say, you got a 270-page document apparently in your midst, and you know, apparently this would clear you. All you got to do is submit it to the authorities, and you'll be cleared, and you get your license back. But it's all about disrespect and, you know, that type of thing and that. So we ain't gonna do it. So fuck them.
You know, I have an idea, Andy. I think that when people become eligible for the Hall of Fame, they should have to take a polygraph test and be asked about whether they used performance-enhancing drugs knowingly in their career to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Yeah, you got to be good. And again, we've said that these people aren't tremendously smart time and time again.
Not deep thinkers.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want something like there's...
Gonna have Bob Arum like Robert De Niro and meet the fucking parents fucking hooking up fucking.
That's probably why I'm thinking of it. They had Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers on this morning. That's a good point.
That's not a bad idea, actually, Matty. Hook them up, and if Evander Holyfield jumps on, the freaking thing explodes.
Well, the thing about Holyfield is he's so like mentally toast right now. He probably wouldn't register anyways.
He'd circumvent it accidentally.
You get punched in the head enough times, you're no longer a liar, you know.
Polygraph, right? Oscar De La Hoya.
I tell you what, you're talking about Brunner naming his kids. Should get Evander Holyfield to name his kids. I bet he couldn't fucking do that. How many kids he's fucking...
Oh my god!
I tell you what, see for a God-fearing Christian by who like he didn't half fuck about some fucking awful, did he know? Eh?
Doing the Lord's work, Andy.
Doing the Lord's work. This is what I'm saying, man. I was saying to my dad the other week there, and that, like, obviously, about, alcohol being such a scrooge to people these days. It destroys lives and takes so many lives. But what I was saying is, look, people didn't really seem to mention as well as seeing people, the amount of times how much life is created because of alcohol. It's incredible. You know what I'm saying? Really
take a look around you.
Aye, look at my son. Look at my son's fucking case in point.
Oh dear. Joseph Webb, he's in the Nuthouse group. He's responding to Ben Davison. Davison says Zhang not going to the body could end up costing him here. What the fuck, says Joe? Why would you need to work the body when he was literally landing and doing damage with every backhand? Going to the body would have put Zhang more in danger and open to counter. Some rivaled analysis there, Rob.
Unrivaled work, man. If you fucking watch the same amount of tape as Ben Davison, then you could talk. But until then, keep your fucking opinions about potential body work that doesn't need to be done to yourself.
I know. Why?
How much grease is he putting on his head, by the way? What is that? Brill cream?
That's brill cream. It's brill
is
cream,
it, like, they still sell that? That's fucking good stuff.
If no, it's some quality fucking chip pan grease, that shit, like.
Bit of Silverkin. Get it on.
Rick. White boy,
anyway, Ben's unrivaled work has now become rivaled because Raph, elusive 2.0, is on the scene. Daily analysis, on Instagram, and the full breakdowns are on YouTube. He's a boxing UFC analyst, entrepreneur. My thoughts on the world.
I think I saw one of his
Here we
comments.
go, Andy. You were the one who made me aware of Raph. He's talking about Fury against Joshua. He says the clearest blueprint Tyson Fury has to initiating attacks against Anthony Joshua would be to post on him with the lead hand, just framing a little bit longer and watching how AJ reacts in response to layer his follow-up entries. The rest of his plan would work from there.
Fucking wanker.
This is what I'm talking about.
Piece of
This language, initiating attacks.
Framing a little bit longer and re-entry.
Follow-up entries, man, like Yusuf Max strategy or something.
He's got to post him. He's got to post him with the left hand. He's put a stamp on him, put through the fucking letterboxes.
Post on him.
He's got to frame a little bit longer than watching how AJ reacts to the response to the layered follow-up. It's like listening to James Bond coming back into Windbreaker.
I bet you this fella's never seen a real fight in his life. The way he's talking, like he just watches fights on video, slowed down and all, like talking about re-entries and fucking shithead.
And they think by using phrases like follow-up entry is going to be sound impressive to people. Like that sounds
he needs to hit him, man, and then he needs to hit him again. That's the plan. You fucking dick. Shut the fuck up talking like that. Who talks like that? You absolute ass. Imagine trying to talk to a fighter like that. Now listen, man. I want you to post on him and frame him a little bit longer before you follow up your entry. Do you hear me? You got that?
And then the rest of the plan would work from there. And then my honest opinion, fucking, if you just go to jab him on all night long, wait for him to gas out, then fucking get and then hit him with the right hand, and that's it. Job done. I don't mind fucking framing it up and watching it a little bit longer. Fuck that.
Yeah. Re-entry is for spaceships and my dick.
Yeah. Bit of re-entry going on. Ozzy didn't join us, unfortunately, so we'll not be able to tell him about Khalid Bethia. You didn't hear about this fellow earlier, Rob. Started off his career at 137 and then turned back up at 229.
We've all been there, pal. It stops Monday.
It stops Monday, you're fucking right. I lost £1 this week. I'm gaining now 60 next week.
I think it's okay, Steve, because you didn't know this about this guy. I knew this. He's still in credit, so.
Okay.
He's going to run out pretty quick, mate. I'll tell you that. That order they put in there on Friday night was horrific.
Oh my goodness! Final one from me, little video for you. Oscar De La, I don't know, man. It's just sad now, isn't it? We've been through this to death about what a great fighter he was, man.
He's
what the hell?
Choppers, man.
Look at the state of him here with the Ryan Garcia on the video.
Seriously, man, you are fucking sound. I always say you're fucking sound.
Callie Sewalan tweeting him, "You're okay, hon."
Yeah, Oscar, what's the dealer's fucking phone number, mate? That looks like quality gear you get compared to this council stuff that I get over here. Fucking hell.
Oh my gosh.
Wish
He's
that
on
was
the.
longer. I
Looks like
enjoyed
he's
that
on
song.
the Aurora at the moment, doesn't he?
You can tell Oscar's on grade A stuff compared to Callie on the council because Callie's got like blotches and red marks and dry skin and fucking plukes. Oscar looks like he's $1 million
That's
still.
all
You
the
know, like-
Botox, though, innit, on Oscar?
Yeah, I know, but he's wearing it well, though, isn't he?
Oscar De La Hoya.
He's on the copacetic, isn't he?
No,
His fucking
Oscar
guy
De La
first one
Coco
said King of New
Belly.
York. Oof.
He's got
Brutal
the
mente.
lizard lick.
Why,
The
why
lizard
can't
lick, the David Icke.
why can't somebody just be happy?
Oh, yes, happy. Look at him.
Exactly. I'd be fucking happy as well if I was him.
He's gunning like a motherfucker. Look at his teeth. You could chew an apple through a tennis racket with your teeth, man. I mean, he's gunning there.
Well, and he obviously thinks Ryan is going to win, so he's just ecstatic. I don't know why you're assuming such negative things about this.
He's
man.
he's given Garcia the blueprint to beat Mayweather to use against Tank Davis. Remember, he's giving everybody the blueprint to beat fucking Floyd Mayweather when he didn't beat him. I showed him the blueprint, and I've showed Victor Ortiz the blueprint. Well, that fucking worked out well, didn't it?
Like, yes, we get an Oscar. It's a great Jay-Z album. Move on.
Who had nicer eyebrows, Victor Ortiz or Ryan Garcia? These are the fucking questions we need to know the answers to.
That's an interesting question.
Oscar does no bad in that department as well, you know.
Yep, he's doing well.
Get in there and get rough and
That's my
tough.
verse for you.
Metrosexuals.
Amira.
Who's that?
Boss in the background, look.
Amira Figueroa.
All right. Is that Tom Skinner in the background there? Bosh beds. I tell you what, by the way, there's a real serious fucking situation getting talked about on.
I don't believe. I saw the way that's written. I think somebody. Yeah, I think someone just wrote that. Like, I don't want to. I mean, if it happens, I hope the person finds justice. But I don't think a Reddit essay.
Reddit, that's what it is. I wouldn't expect, but some.
It looks like it's a hoax. Put it that way to me. But what the fuck am I, Peter Hyatt?
Please tell me after the podcast, Andy.
Yeah, we'll not say it on the podcast. Any nominations from you this week, Rob? Not that one.
Spinal. No, I didn't. I have no allegations. I have no allegations to make this week, Steve.
Just slips off the tongue, doesn't it?
But we won't say anything about it.
Isn't that a Freudian slipping off?
Yeah. No, nothing from me this week.
Nothing from Rob, nothing from Mars. Anything from you, Andy?
A couple of things, mate. Just obviously, one for Steve Bunce coming out with that immortal line last night. We'll call him Big Bang Zhang, the giant from China, and all that casual racism stuff. Steve Bunce, oh my god!
Oh yeah, I thought we were going to talk about that more. What the hell?
Oh yeah,
I just remembered it there. Actually, to be fair, you know, I was actually, you know, one of the things when you actually hear something getting said, and you actually like, you didn't react to it initially, and you're thinking to yourself, did I fucking hear that right there? But which point it's like 5 minutes has passed, and it's like there's no fucking point in bringing it up anymore. But aye, and Dempsey getting the mics and the cameras out of there pronto, pretty sharpish as well. So fair play to him. One for King Cleve, Nathan Cleverly on the beach here with his plastic missus, looking very much.
She looks like the Joker, doesn't she?
Oh mate, honestly, mate, listen, hitting her fucking clam would give me severe fucking fear. Like, she's not attractive one way or the other. It's all plastic, fantastic, man. But Cleverly's looking a wee bit like fucking John LaBoche these days, man. The fucking belly he's got on him, fuck's sake.
He's loving life, isn't he, Cleverly?
He is,
You see the one when he was on his knees in the water with the piano going in the back.
He's fucking nuts, man. But millionaire, he loving his best life. He's not even 40 yet, man. He's fucking living life up. But he's well out of shape these days as King Cleve. Like, that's all for me, mate.
Lovely stuff. Matty, anything from you, please?
Yeah, you know, Steve, I just don't think I can follow up Plastic Clam, so I'm not going to try.
Tell you what, it's not really a Bellew of the Week nomination, but I seen Michaela Mayer back in action over the weekend, and when I look at her, she fucking reminds me of Nicolas Cage, man, and now I can't get it out of my head, so I want to see her.
Don't do that to me, Rob. Don't do that to me.
Are you not following her on OnlyFans then, Rob?
No, because I can't fucking stand him either. Like, fucking shit actor. Like, so I'm off her on both counts now. Like,
and Rob, and what celebrity do you look like the most things? Nicolas Cage is what it comes up for me. So I'm taking a lot of offense in many different levels here.
Well, look, it's all intended. So,
yeah, fucking prick.
Face off from Rob. Right, let's go over them quickly then before we get out of here. There's AB struggling to name his kids. We've got Dickwad going in on money. We've got Joe. Everyone has a plan until he gets punched in the face, and then he's out of here. We've got Bellew being dragged up. We've got Peter Fury dragging things out. We've got Joe Kennedy getting a bit of an ice in there
He's
from
safe.
Doc. We've got Darren Till going in on everybody. Michael McElwee nominating Eduardo. We've got Joe Webb going in on Ben Davison. We've got Raf, unrivaled analysis, and there's a little bit more from him. And Khalid Bethia for putting on 89 pounds over the lockdown. It was a tough time for everybody. The Gad speaking Chinese as well. Terry Woodfine's video with the Boss John of the England rugby and Oscar gurning off his tits. Rob, who are you going for this week?
Who was the one just before this guy on the screen again?
Oh, Raf, unrivaled analysis.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I would go for as well.
Shit,
Yeah, I'm going for
Anyone
him
who
as well.
fucking
Like,
talks
Follow-up
like that,
entry.
I fucking hate him. And most of them are fucking MMA fans first because they got into the UFC and they go there with tap out t-shirts and I'll never fucking, you know what I mean? They're just on there, they're all combat sports experts. As if they're all the fucking same thing. Honest to God, like, yeah, this guy, fellas that talk like that in general, like, same about football and all. You know, like, just trying to reinvent the fucking game all the time. Just shut up, man. Like, it's going to be the same. Just kick a ball around the pitch, like, try to score. That's the fucking, you know what I mean? Don't have to fucking overcomplicate it. Like.
I was just going to say, mate, he's overcomplicated the story here by saying, and so many, I don't know how many letters or characters he's used there, like, but he's essentially talking about a fucking jab. And that tweet.
What
You know
blueprint?
Left
what
hand.
Blueprint does Fury need to beat fucking Joshua, by the way?
Exactly. He's not like he's building a skyscraper, is he? He's fucking knocking one down, man, for fuck's sake.
We've seen fucking two lads beating him now. Well, like, you know, I think the fucking cat's out of the bag, you asshole. Oh.
You going for Naf Raf as well then, Andy?
Oh, aye, mate. It's just that's that Ben Guardiola fucking oracle of boxing bollocks that we're talking about, you know.
There's 3 for Rafa, so your pick is completely
Even Ben
irrelevant,
Davison
Martin.
would look at that and cringe, like, wouldn't he? Ben Davison.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's too
He'd
much.
like,
No.
Ben
Ben Davison's raging. He never even fucking thought about that. Saying, man, what are you talking about?
You've embarrassed yourself there, Raf.
He's gonna write a dissertation back to him and give him some fucking. What does he say about the fucking analysis of the fucking tape? Oh, it doesn't matter anyway.
Who you going for, Matty?
Just for kick, Steve, I'm going Yu Shun De Quanji Pin Glun Yuan, which roughly translated means stupid boxing commentator, otherwise known as Gad.
I thought you nominated yourself there, Matty.
Don't start, Steve. Don't start.
Brickstone hit back.
Oh, the Gad's won enough, and Holly's safe, thank God. So we're not gonna have him today. But it's Raf.
For now.
Yeah, for now. Raf Elusive 2.0 with his tick as well. Elusive YouTube. Go and follow him. He is the Bellew of the Week winner for episode 519.
I have a funny feeling this fella's going to provide content for him.
Yeah, I'm going to say we're going to be hearing from him again, aren't we?
Why can't he remain elusive? Son of a
yeah, exactly. Not
fucking misnomers.
He's not even. Yeah, we will be hearing from him again soon. A quick shout out to the people who threw in super chats tonight. Excuse me, Damo, Captain Casual, and David Palmer. Shout out to Thomas Newman and Dave Wilson, who joined us over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum as well. And the call-in bonus pod is off. We couldn't muster up 100 likes last week. We only got 81.
Yeah, fucking tight bits. Fuck yourselves.
Absolutely suck at our jobs.
1,500 views and only 81 likes. So that's
fucking just lazy, lad. It's just laziness.
I mean, here we are, turning up week in, week out, giving you content, and you can't even use 100 likes per week.
Yeah, we don't fucking want your money, right? Keep your fucking money. Just give us the likes.
Yeah.
Rob has given you like an hour of his time this week.
Yeah, even
about
25 minutes a week for this.
Unrivaled participation.
Oh, fucking hell.
Well, we do thank everyone in the Patreon. We thank everybody who kicks in over here through these weeks. You keep it running, and we try to give you the best product we can, going back as quirky and strange as our product might be at times. I'd like to thank Steve Wellings Andy Patterson and Rob Kelly for coming on. I've been your host, Matt DiGianardo, and we will see you next week as we draw closer to Cinco de Mayo weekend and our friend John Ryder and his battle against Canelo Alvarez. We'll see you next week.
Woo!
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking Sri Lanka that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. 7-year ain't. I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. Simple as that.
See, Jim McDonald's